What is up, everybody? It is Puzzle Piece Gaming here, and today we got a special Power Rangers Mega Battle stream going. We got a friend here who's going to be joining us here in a second. We're just going to be hanging out, talking about Power Rangers while we play some Mega Battle. So just a second to been a couple weeks since we did Mega Battle, so post the link here. Post these links here and then we'll get started. Lost track of which ones already posted in. Does all trust us? Can you hear me?
After 10,000 years I'm free, time to conquer YouTube.
Time to conquer YouTube. What's up, Henry? Alright, welcome to Puzzle Piece Gaming, and we should have him doing a test to see if the mic's working for the stream. Can you hear me? Saying sorry. Oh, he said hang on. Okay.
Hello, Puzzle.
No problem. Hello, Puzzle. Oh, it's Henry. So I was looking through some cabinets in my TV stand, and I found a couple. I'm gonna post them in the group and in the Phoenix Force group, because I actually got these from Black Phoenix back in like 2017. They're these little bead art things, and one's a Pikachu, and so you think you muted us? No, you're not muted. Might have muted yourself. I'm not sure. Anyway, so we were playing Smash at a park. We were playing, like, I think it was when Smash 4 was out. And so there's these beat art things. One's a Pikachu and the other one's of Ike. So anyway. Yeah, it says you're in the party. It's not picking up any. You're not muted. It's saying I've got party chat prioritized. So I don't know if you muted yourself by accident or what. I don't know how the White Ranger has level 10. The Green Ranger has level 9, even though we beat the game with both the White and Green Rangers. That's kind of interesting. We've not started with the Blue Ranger, actually. Let's see. Yellow and pink are both at 3. Black and red are both at 5. Green's at 9. White's at 10. I believe we played as pink last time. So I'm thinking of playing either yellow, blue, or black. When your controller isn't working. Oh no. That's how it always happens. It works perfectly until it's time to actually go live, and then something happens. And we're like, no, why does that happen? Anyway, so Joe mentioned to me the other day that his favorite Ranger was the Black Ranger. So I think we'll. Oh, I can hear you. Let me see if this stream. Alright, the stream cannot hear you though. That might be your voice is not picking up in the stream.
My voice is not picking up in the stream, it says.
Yeah, let me check. Let me check something real quick.
Testing.
No, it might be with the sound settings. Give me just a second.
Huh?
Let me see if I can figure out. Okay. Party audio settings. Okay, yeah. All right, so go into the party where you see the party screen where it's just my name and your name, and it's got add. Yeah, that's fine. I had a.
Okay, and what?
Alright, so you should see a menu on the side that says.
Everything as well, so.
Yeah. You should see a menu on the side that says add players, share play, view other parties, right? Yeah, there you go. Allow your voice to be shared. Should be under party audio
Okay,
settings.
testing. Testing, is this any better?
Give me just a second. No. Let's see. Yeah, allow your voice to be shared. It should say always allow.
Which it does now. It does say that now, so.
Let me see here.
That's your video.
If it says always allow, it should be. I should be able to hear you.
Is this any better? Testing.
Whoa.
Am I being picked up at all?
Let me check real quick. Hey Henry, can you hear him in the stream? I told him the Black Ranger was your favorite Ranger. He said, I don't blame him. Zach got rhythm. Here. Share party audio. Just. Oh, this might be. Let me see. We can see
Am I being picked
party
up at
audio
all now,
versus-
or what?
I think so. Say something real quick again.
What?
Say something real quick again. I got
Testing,
both my
testing,
headset
1,
and
2,
my
3.
headphones in, so. Alright, now I can hear you. Yeah, you can be here.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, great. I guess we're in.
Yeah.
Can you turn that down now? I'm hearing my echo.
Alright.
Okay, so as long as we're good, that's all that matters, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
What is up? So you. Let me see.
Yep.
Yeah, alright. Equalize it out a little bit. Alright.
Is there any possibilities you could just turn yours up just a little bit? You're just very low. You're
I'm
part. I
very
can
low.
hear you, but you're just low is all.
Okay. Okay, better?
Yeah, that's better.
Alright. So you mentioned the other day that Zach was your favorite Power Ranger.
Well, I mean, truth be told, or whatever, in all honesty, pretty much, for the most part, almost all the Black Rangers are my favorites, if you know what I mean. It just started with Zach and then went on to Adam and all that stuff and everything, but there's just something about, and then in the end, I mean, since we kind of had a break from Black Rangers after Adam, we had a little bit of a break from the Black Ranger for a while until Carlos, and then he became my favorite. But I've always had a thing for Black Rangers for some reason. I don't know why, but yeah, I guess Zach kind of started it all.
Yeah, that makes sense. Zach,
Yeah.
as far as character-wise, Zach wasn't necessarily my favorite, just because I thought he was kind of bland at times. But honestly, I really liked Adam. Adam was probably one of my second favorite Rangers after Tommy.
Absolutely. I mean, I know a lot of people. I know a lot of people disagree with me, including. Well, I don't know if I wouldn't say including, but even my own girlfriend, when I made her a fan, she always says that she always has a special place in her heart for the originals and everything. And while I do agree, yes, of course, the originals are the originals, but there was just something about Adam that just really, really brought me in, and not to mention, I mean, come on, he became the famous Johnny Young Bosch and all that stuff and everything, whereas Walter Jones really, aside from Power Rangers, you really don't know of him, but Johnny Bosch, you hear of him from anime. But, yeah, I kind of see where you're going and stuff like that. I somewhat prefer Adam and everything over Zach, but again, that one's kind of a up in the air thing for me. I mean, Black Rangers in general, I love them all, and it's just hard for me to necessarily say which one I like better. So yeah.
That's not to say the other, like, Zach's bad or anything. It's just.
Oh sure.
And it's all just about mainly how they wrote the character, because, like, for instance, I love Adam. I can't stand Rocky. Rocky was one of the weakest Red Rangers, I thought.
Yeah, see, I happen to have again. I mean, I'll say again. I think I liked pretty much all the characters very much. I didn't hate any of them from the seasons that I watched. I don't think that's one thing you'll get to know about me with Power Rangers and everything, is that I don't think I hated anything or anyone. I don't think there was one character or one thing about the Power Rangers that I hated. I mean, everybody says, like, oh, I hated the Alien Rangers, oh, I hated Catherine, oh, I hated Rocky, oh, I hated Turbo, I hated Justin. I pretty much loved everything about the show for the years that I was watching. I don't know if it was just that I was a kid, and just when you're a kid, it's just very, very, very hard for you to not like something once you get into it and you just love everything. But I just thought that everything that went on in the show, even though I found out many, many, many years later as an adult, and I went back and I looked back at the Power Rangers, and I realized that a lot of that stuff was either not meant to be that way and it just sort of became that way, or it was like a last minute thing, or such as, like, a perfect example, David Yost just walking off the set as Billy and they just lost him just like that. That was not planned and all that stuff, and not to mention Walter, Twee, and Austin going on strike and everything and all that stuff. That was not planned neither. They just kind of had to quickly find new replacements. I'm finding out later on that stuff wasn't planned. Well, all I could say is that the stuff on the show, I loved it just so much that it didn't seem like it wasn't planned. You know what I mean? It all fit and it all worked and everything. It just unlike stuff nowadays, whereas nowadays when something like that happens at the last minute and they have like what are we gonna do? What are we gonna do? We don't know how exactly to fix this and everything. And here we've got people that we gotta please. What do? They kind of just do it in the most disappointingly bad ways, whereas Power Rangers, it just always worked. So I don't really think I hated any characters. I loved Rocky, I loved all of them. There was nothing I hated about the seasons that I watched. I can't really say the same for the seasons that I haven't watched because, well, I didn't watch them.
So exactly,
Yeah. So if I was to go and watch them today, you know, like I know that they're pretty much all on YouTube now, thanks to Hasbro. In my opinion, I think that's like the only good thing that Hasbro has done. I think that pretty much everything else, ever since Hasbro's got the rights, I think they've kind of effed up the show and everything, and has really done nothing but bring bad stuff to the Rangers since Hasbro got their hands on it. Putting it on YouTube is the only good thing about it. But other than that, I could always just go and watch the show on YouTube. But maybe I'll think differently then. Maybe I might start hating stuff then. But of everything that I watched when I was younger, going from the originals all the way through in space, there's nothing I didn't hate. So I can't really say that there's anything that I absolutely hated, because there wasn't. So, yeah.
My biggest issue with Hasbro, and they're getting better at it, like, but at times, but especially when they did the Lightning toy collection, was that they focused too heavily, I thought, on Mighty Morphin and not enough on the other seasons.
Yeah, that's actually one of the sad things for me, is that I really don't know anything about the Lightning toy collection, because sadly you gotta remember that when Power Rangers was a big thing, when it was still very, very, very big, all the hype back in the 90s, and as the years went on and everything, and the toys were selling off the shelf, I was one of them that had pretty much the whole collection, from the, you know, command center and the big monsters, the little monsters, all the Rangers, all that stuff. I had the big Rangers, the small Rangers, the Rangers with the flip heads. But once my mother went behind my back and just, you know, completely just got rid of my entire collection without even telling me. And I remember I brought a guy home from school one day offering to give me some big money for those toys, and my mom goes, I don't think I kept those. And I'm like, oh my god, I was like so upset. So since I no longer have my toys anymore, I've kind of, I guess the word is, I've kind of just stopped paying attention to anything new that they've released in stores. Not to mention, I mean, I don't really have the money anymore to start recollecting my collection.
That's the thing.
So I don't really know anything about the Lightning collection that Hasbro has done. I don't really know anything about it, since I just kind of stopped paying attention.
Yeah, you can start to rebuild your collection. That's what I started doing. I was about 24 maybe when I started like rebuilding my collection from when I was a kid, and again, it is definitely an expensive, like it's not cheap.
No, it's not. I think the only that I remember, I could be dead wrong, and I'm not even too sure if what I'm about to say is 100% accurate, but I think this was, you gotta remember, this was years ago. This was before I moved to New York. Before I got married and moved to New York. Before I did that, when I lived in Illinois, if I remember correctly, the only two that I think that I still had, one of them was new, but I mean, I guess you can say I had it. The other one was just one that my mother never got her hands on. Was the only two that I think that I remember that I still had was, I had my Serpentera. That one was the one that my mother just never managed to get her hands on. But the other one was this guy that I used to be friends with. We're not friends anymore, but this guy that I met in high school, who is also a big Power Ranger fan. He, I can't remember if it was for Christmas or if it was for a birthday, he got me a brand new, just like the one from back when it was first released, a Tiger Zord. Oh, and that one I don't even think I ever took out of the box. I think I kept it in its box after I opened the wrapping from my buddy back at the time, and I just said, I love it so much, I'm just going to keep it in its box and not even open it. And I figured to myself, what's the point? All I have is just him and Serpentera. I don't have any other toys to play with, so why bother opening it if there's nothing to play with it with, so I'll just keep it in mint condition. Yeah. So I, as far as I know, I should still have them, but that is unless my mother got her hands on those once I moved out of the house and got rid of them, and thinking that I won't notice when I get the rest of my belongings once I move to Pennsylvania. But that's hard to say, so yeah.
Oh, you are?
So
Oh,
I'm not. I can't
I didn't
remember
realize
toys.
you were planning to. You're moving to Pennsylvania?
Yes, I will be. We're aiming for it to be later this year,
Okay.
but we don't. But we still have a lot of planning to do, so that might end up being postponed. I mean, I'm in no hurry. I want to stay in New York. I'm in no hurry, but it's just something that needs to be done now that I'm divorced. So.
Right. But yeah, I recently, I recently, like within the past couple years, got. I never had a Serpentera when I was a kid. I just got one recently, like in the past couple years, and honestly, I love the quality of it. I managed to find it at a good price on like eBay, and that's part of the thing with like today's society. It's like you can find the toys from your childhood, but I'm sure they're like way more expensive now than they were
absolutely.
when
I mean,
like our parents
for a perfect example, like once I made my girlfriend into a Power Rangers fan, the one it's kind of weird, really, because her and I, we sort of, when it comes to Power Rangers, in a small way, we kind of share similarities, not to a T, but to similarities, because it's kind of like, I remember when I was a kid and I had all the toys, I remember I always loved the Saba sword, Tommy's Saba sword and everything, and I remember it one day just went missing and I never found it again. But my girlfriend, when I made her a Power Ranger fan, and she fell in love with the show like I am, she, even though she's never had one and everything, just watching the show, she loved the Dragon Dagger and everything. She just loved that melody of the flute. And so while I've always wanted a new Saba sword, I want one to this day. I want it very, very, very badly. I just would love to have my Saba sword back. I remember once I made my girlfriend a fan, I decided one year, I don't remember if it was like Christmas or a birthday or something, I decided that I would get her a Dragon Dagger. But yeah, they're like a fortune now and everything. And I remember, another friend of mine from Pennsylvania who's not a Power Ranger fan, but she a lot of the times whenever I brought up that I was all upset that my mother got rid of my Power Ranger toys, she's like, who cares? They're just toys. But once she found out how expensive a Dragon Dagger was for me to get for my girlfriend, she's like, now I understand why you're so angry at your mom. Those things could bring you in a giant fortune if you still had those. And so, yeah, and so I still haven't been able to get her one, but I know she'd love it. So, because she loves it. Every single time Tommy drew that Dragon Dagger and just started playing, she would get she'd get all jumpy and giddy and all that and everything. She just, yeah. So I mean, we both are kind of with the Tommy stuff and everything, but it's just I love the Saba, whereas she was the Dragon Dagger.
Now that being said, you said you haven't seen any seasons past Space, which is why I think
that's right. Yeah,
knowing that you love Black Rangers and knowing how much you like Tommy, that's why I think that one of the seasons you'll probably enjoy watching will be Power Rangers Dino Thunder. Dino
Thunder, yes. I haven't watched the entire series. I mean, like I said, I know it's on YouTube now, but I've known that he came back as Dr. Tommy Oliver and everything, and as the Black Ranger and all that stuff. And no, I haven't watched it from beginning to end. I've just kind of skimmed around and stuff like that, like fast-forwarded through it. But I've said to my girlfriend several times since we watched the full Zordon era, I really, really, really think that it would be a great idea if her and I got together, and my introduction would also be her introduction. We could watch Dino Thunder together, and we could watch pretty much any seasons that that JDF was in. following the Zordon era, and
Right.
that would be a great introduction for the both of us and everything. We just haven't done it yet, but I definitely want to. Though there's also, I don't know the character's name, nor do I know what season, but there is one actor that I've been that I'm a fan of from a soap opera, amazing as it is, who's on one of the seasons. I think he was one of the Blue Rangers. Again, I don't know what season it was, and I don't know the character's name, but he's played by actor. Forgive me if I'm saying the name wrong. I think it's Philip Jean Murray or Jean Murray or something like that.
Yeah, he played Max, the Blue Ranger, in Power Rangers
That's what I
Wild
thought.
Force.
Yeah. I've been wanting to see his season because it took me by shock and everything. I know him from my favorite soap opera, and he's a villain on that soap opera, a rather creepy villain on that soap opera. And then to find out that he's a Power Ranger, I'm like, oh my god, so this is what he's doing when he's not out saving the world? He's out there blackmailing people and causing arson and murders and all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah,
So I've been wanting to see that
Power
one
Rangers
too.
Wild Force.
But I pretty much want to see pretty much anything that Tommy was in. I want to see and everything. I just haven't had the time. I mean, just what with JDF's passing and everything. I mean, I'm still torn and everything, as you can see from my group and everything that I specifically made and everything just for him and everything. Me, my girlfriend.
Make note of that to anybody who's watching the stream. We just beat a giant king sphinx without morphing.
Oh wow! Oh, Kingston. It's actually that monster is actually kind of interesting because when the show very first started, or at least back when I was very first introduced to the show as a kid, King Sphinx. The way they advertise him on the promotions, like on the toy boxes, he looks like he might be another one of Rita's goons who might kind of team up with Goldar for a number of episodes. But no, he only appears for one episode.
He was just a
Once
one-off
he's
monster,
destroyed,
yeah.
that's it. Yeah.
But me and my friend were just talking about that the other day. Talking about that King Sphinx was like on all the posters. I had a puzzle when I was a kid that had like the Rangers and their Zords, and they were fighting King Sphinx, but
yeah, it was just so interesting.
So
you would think that
at first I thought he was. I was like, oh, is that like a new form for Goldar or something? Because I thought it was Goldar, and it's like, and I'm like, oh no, but he definitely would have made a great general.
villain. Yeah, and he just disappears after that one episode. They really make you think that he's gonna stick around, and he doesn't. No, he just comes and he goes.
And the storyline in Zhu Ranger, I don't know if you've watched any of the Super Sentai.
No, I haven't.
The King Sphinx character in Zhu Ranger, he's called Dora Sphinx, and he has a human form too. And what he would do is he would tell children riddles, and if they got them wrong, which he would keep asking them until they got one wrong, and once they got one wrong, he would flap his wings and he would trap them inside of a tree. Like, he would trap their souls inside of a tree, and the trees,
that is dark.
And the trees that he was trapping them in were about to be cut down by like a construction company.
Oh god, whoa. Yeah, I didn't know any of there's really only two things about the Japanese stuff that I know about, and that is, number one, the Yellow Ranger was a boy, not a girl. That's why the Pink Ranger's got a skirt and the Yellow Ranger doesn't. That's one thing. And number two is that the Green Ranger actually dies in the Japanese footage. He doesn't just lose his powers, he's dead. So that's all I know. Other than that, I don't know anything about the Japanese footage. I've yet to watch it. I guess because it's in Japanese. I guess that might be why I never watched it. No, I just
Yeah, not only
I
does the Green
mean,
Ranger die, but in the version he was actually he and the Red Ranger were actually brothers.
oh, I think
He
I
was
did hear
he
something
was he
about
was like
that.
the he was
I
like
don't
the
know
Red
if I.
Ranger's long lost brother or something.
Yeah, I think I did hear something about that. Um, I mean, the truth of the matter is that even though I definitely still watch the show and I will never stop watching the show, it's a part of who I am. It's a part of my childhood. It's just something that I will never, ever, ever give up. I'm hoping if I ever do have kids in the future, I mean, I don't know if I ever will, but if I do, I'm hoping I can make my kids a fan of it and stuff like that. But I'm not gonna lie or whatever. It's just it's very, 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 very difficult for me to watch it the way that I used to watch it. Now that I'm finding out all of this dark stuff or whatever that either went on during the show or the stuff that is happening now with the show, it just.
Right.
It just brings tears to my eyes and everything. You know, this was such a huge part of my childhood. It was beautiful. It was like something for you to look up to. It was a show meant to really teach kids, you know, to only use fighting as a last solution. Don't go around trying to beat people up and all that stuff. But then, before as you get older and everything, you suddenly start to find stuff out, such as that David Yost, you know, was criticized because he was gay, and that's why he walked off the set and quit his part as Billy, stuff like that. And then there's the tragic death of Twee Trang as Trini in the car accident, and and then of course, obviously, JDF killing himself and stuff like that. And then there was that one Red Ranger that killed his roommate and had to serve some time. And then, geez, even Austin St. John, Jason himself getting arrested for committing fraud and all that stuff. I'm like, what happened to these people being role models? This is crazy. They're all off doing bad things now. So it's just, I love the show to bits, but it's just so hard to watch it and just say, this was what I loved growing up, and look at them now.
Like, probably as a kid, and like I said, that's nothing necessarily on them as a person. That's just, again, society and these days will find a way to, like, expose every single flaw of anybody that they've ever had in their life, whether it's current or not.
Unlike other stations such as Nickelodeon, if you know what I mean, where they basically pay their actors not to reveal anything.
Oh yeah, that's another conversation. Yeah. But
yeah.
but,
and it's just.
But like for instance, with this new special that they're coming out with, I personally am not looking forward to it. I'm going to watch it because again,
I'm excited. I mean, I'm actually kind of me and my girlfriend are planning to watch it together. She said that she hopes that Norway gets it, and I said, honey, if you got Power Rangers on Netflix, then you will get this. There's no reason why you shouldn't. If you have Power Rangers, you should get this. And so, and just from what I've seen, I mean that they're bringing back so many of the originals: Walter, David, Catherine, Steve, you know, all of them and everything. And it just from what I've seen that they're making it darker. They're actually including the word kill in there, which is something that I know Saban did everything he could to never, ever, ever reference death or kill. He would use the words destroy, but he would say kill or die or anything like that. Well, now they're doing that, and they're making it darker. I'm actually kind of excited for this special. I'm like thinking this will be great to actually see them back.
I'm partially excited, but I'm also partially anxious because it's kind of taking away from the original version a little bit. I think. Again, I don't know how familiar you are with the posts I've made about before this special was even announced. Before. Like, for years, I was working on my own Ranger series, and I called it Power Rangers X-Force.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the characters the Yellow Ranger, and at the end of, so it was going to be a 3-season series, and at the end of the first season, one of the Rangers, the Yellow Ranger, dies, and one of the characters that they meet in the first season, and then later on she becomes the new Yellow Ranger in the second season, was it's like they find out later she's actually Trainee's orphan daughter. And that was why when this special came out, and I'm like, they freaking, like, it almost felt like they stole my idea, even though, again, technically
I've been through times like that.
Technically, I don't have...
Not with Power Rangers, but with stories, yeah. Yeah, I mean... I don't know. I mean, I'm excited for it, especially just to get to watch it with my girlfriend. It'll feel like I'm back in my childhood again, having somebody to watch a special of the show that I had not seen yet. Well, neither have they, and we'll get to see it together and see what happens. But I'll be honest with you, man. The thing of it is that the thing that I love, the thing that I'm really starting to love the most is that I'm finding out, and this is good stuff actually, not so much dark stuff, but this was actually something else that my girlfriend thought was kind of stupid or whatever, but again, I liked it because it was something new, if you know what I mean. It was something kind of, I mean, I know it had happened for only like one episode, but it got to happen for longer later on, was during the, Alien Rangers time and everything, because she didn't really care for the Alien Rangers. I don't think a lot of people did, but I loved them, and stuff like that. But when they turned the Rangers into kids, my girlfriend found that incredibly stupid. I liked that storyline because it was kind of cool to actually see them younger for a little while, even if it did take 10 episodes. But anyhow, getting to my point, the thing that I really love it, the stuff that I'm finding out about the show as I get older, I found this out from Catherine Sutherland on her and Nakia's show. I think it's called Power Playback or something like that. On their show that they have, Catherine Sutherland revealed this. What's that?
Isn't Karen Ashley on that too? I thought I remember Karen
she
Ashley
made a guest appearance. The only one that I know is Catherine and Nakia. Maybe Karen Ashley might have guest appeared, but I don't know. I don't watch the show. I just... The latest episode... The only 2 episodes that I saw of that was when Jenna Frank appeared to talk about her dad, and when, I forget his name, who played Titus, the yellow alien ranger, appeared on it.
Yeah.
God, he seems different now. Those are the only 2 that I've seen so far.
Isn't that the guy he's got like a really thick beard now, I think?
Yes! I'm like, oh my god, he's definitely changed his Alien Ranger outlook. But but anyways, is that when Catherine Sutherland actually revealed, I never would have guessed this. I really thought, again, it's like I mentioned in the beginning of this, is that all of these things that were not originally planned, they really just make them work, even if it just happens. Is that I found out turning them into kids was not originally planned. The only reason why they did that was because the originals had not had a break since the movie, and that they all needed a break for a time, so they gave them some time off by turning them into kids. And I'm like, I never would have guessed that in a million years. I thought the whole reason of turning them into kids was, well, they had to lose their powers so that the Alien Rangers would come in for a short time and everything. I never would have thought that that was not planned out, just to give the actors a break. And then it also makes a lot more sense and everything, you know, that it gets even funnier that I actually found out that Catherine Sutherland actually said that she didn't want a break because she had only been on for a short time before the Alien Rangers came on. So she didn't want a break. Well, she said, I didn't want a break. I'd only been on for a short time. Well, it's no wonder they actually got to have her play a dual role in Child Catherine's journey for her Zeo Crystal, so it brought her in. gave her a role to 2 roles to do. So I'm like, wow, this is all making a lot of sense, and it all, again, it works.
The one that
it's beautiful.
The one that I always thought was kind of odd about that was when they brought, again, they didn't give David Yost too much of a break, because they brought him back pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, you're right. He did come back pretty quick. I don't know if that was. I wonder if that was David's idea or if that was their idea. They're like, "You're gonna get a short break, man. Come on, you're coming back to the show." Or if he said, "I don't mind getting a short break. I'll come back. I like working." I don't know.
Yeah.
You're right about that though. But I mean, Catherine Sutherland and Michael, what's his name, who played young Tommy. Those are the only 2 Rangers that I have ever met.
You met him recently, didn't you?
That's what I'm talking about. Yep. When I met him in person. Catherine Sutherland, I just met on a virtual chat for a few minutes. Yeah. Okay. Let me rephrase that. I did meet Amy Jo Johnson. Yes, I did. I met Amy Jo Johnson on, but it was only for 2 minutes. That's why whenever I say that I've met the Power Rangers, I don't usually include Amy Jo, because it was only for 2 flipping minutes. It was on a cameo chat that she was doing. But again, seriously, what can you really talk about in 2 minutes? That's nothing. That was only enough to maybe, like, get a picture. She asked me if I had any questions. I started to say my question, and then I got cut off. So that's why whenever I mention that I've met any Power Rangers, I don't include Amy Jo, because I really didn't get anywhere with it. But so I always say that Catherine was. I even told her this in when I spoke to her in the virtual chat. She's asked me if I've been to any conventions, if I've been to any Morphicons, if I had been to any of that stuff. I told her that I've never gone to any of those things because I could never afford it and all of that. But I told her that she was my first and only Ranger that I had ever met at that time. She was my Power Ranger actor meeting graduation and all that, and she was very, very honored that she was my first, especially for how much I loved her and I loved her character and all of that. And then, like I said, meeting Michael, young Tommy, he was actually face-to-face in person. I actually got to shake his hand, and he signed something, and I got a picture, and he did it all for free, too, which was even nicer of him. He was such a sweet guy. The only thing that I had to pay for was to get into the store. That's the only thing. He chatted with me. He chatted with me on Facebook, and he said, "If you got something you want me to sign and you can't afford it, I'll do it for you for free. Don't worry about it. I'll do it." So I just brought some things, and to make it even better, you're not even gonna believe this. I even printed out this picture that I wanted him to sign for my girlfriend. I gave him the picture, and he goes, "I'll tell you what, Joe. I've got this exact same picture professionally. I'm gonna give her that instead." And so I'm like, oh my god.
That is awesome.
I know, he did all of this for free when normally he would charge people. And so I'm like, we don't even know each other. And so I Facebook messaged the actress that played Young Cat. I forget her name, but I Facebook chatted with her.
Julia something. Julia.
Right.
Yeah.
She's another one that, again, I didn't notice it when I was a kid, but when you're a kid, you don't notice this stuff. But as you get older, and you watch reviews, I don't know if you've ever watched these. If you don't, you should, because they're very, very, very good on YouTube. I forget the guy's name, and I'm wondering if he's still doing these, because he does a wonderful job with them, and I haven't seen any done it for a while. But on YouTube, there is this one Power Rangers reviewer where he does this series called Ranger Reviews. I don't know if you ever saw those.
I don't think I saw that one. Oh, hey, Tommy. Tommy's just standing there watching me fight buddies.
Yeah, He does each episode, if you know what I mean. Each episode they look at the TV show Power Rangers and then discuss them and everything, and then he says like what was bad about the episode and what was awesome about it and what was okay about it. Well, one of the things that he actually pointed out is when the Rangers become kids again, is that this time instead of having Kimberly, we now have a young Cat. And the only thing about it is that the poor thing, it's like this young actor is playing Cat cannot do an Australian accent. And everything, you know. I didn't notice that when I was a kid, but as I'm older, I'm like, yeah, she is kind of struggling, but I don't think it's awful, and all that. And I remember messaging her that on Facebook. I said to her, was it hard to do the Australian accent? And she said, yes, but the thing of it was that I was just so blown away by being on the set and the people that I was working with and everything, that it all helped me do the Australian accent. Just how much of the experience that I was having. I was working for the Power Rangers, so it helped me be able to build up the Australian accent. And so she said, yeah, it was a struggle for her. So, but stuff like that and everything. And I also recently chatted with, I think his name is Alan Palmer, who played my favorite Alien Ranger, Corcus, the black one. Again, the Black Alien Rangers, like all the other Black Rangers, he was my favorite, even though he's the one that had like the least screen time, if you know what I mean, out of all of them. I had a chat with him, and what a giant coincidence, he's also a Broadway performer. He's also somebody that does Broadway theater. Isn't that the coolest thing? My favorite of the Alien Rangers does Broadway. And he even said that he was hoping to be doing another Broadway show at some point, like in the fall or whatever. I told him I'd love to meet him. And he's like, oh, absolutely. So I've chatted with a few of those minor actor Rangers on Facebook and stuff like that, but aside from Catherine Sutherland, she's like the only big Power Ranger that I have ever actually met, you know, like that. Everybody else has just been minor characters.
Yeah, I know.
But,
I've never actually talked to her personally, but I know that I was actually surprised that I believe she did accept it. Was I had actually been on TikTok and I saw a live stream that was being done by Nakia Baris's son, and I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, I went and somehow, I don't remember how it happened, but I ended up becoming friends with Nakia Baris on Facebook.
Oh.
And then I was actually surprised that I did some Power Rangers video on TikTok, and one of the accounts that liked the video and actually sent me a friend request gave me a follow was the DiFilippo triplets, the ones that played Trey of Triforia and Zeo.
Those three. Yeah. That actually really really confused me a little bit. I'm not saying that I would like turn me around again as a kid, but I'm just talking about now when you're looking at it from an actor point of view. It really confused me as to why they had to make the Gold Ranger. I'm not talking about his storyline. I know many people were really irritated that they were like building it up of who could this guy be. Some were thinking maybe it's Billy, maybe it's somebody that we know, and then to find out that it's somebody we don't know and everything. I'm not talking so much about that. I agree that it was a little bit meh, but I could deal with that. What throws me off is that you had Brad Hawkins doing the voice of him in his Gold Ranger uniform, but then it becomes the three triplets. Why not just make Brad Hawkins him as one of the three triplets? Yeah. Why you only have him do the voice? And then before you know it, it goes on to Austin St. John, Jason. I mean, Brad Hawkins could have appeared right there on screen, and we would have had a VR Trooper as one of our Power Rangers.
Yeah.
Huh. That's the part that
actually
throws me off. I'm like, why only have him do the voice?
Did you hear that he almost was a Power Ranger?
Yes, he
Yeah,
almost
was the White Ranger.
the right White Ranger, but fans wanted Tommy back. Yes.
Yeah. And that
I know that
Tommy-
whole storyline.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Cybertron and all that stuff.
I used to watch VR Troopers. Yeah, you're talking to somebody that watched all that stuff. I watched a few VR Troopers, watched a lot of Big Bad Beetleborgs, watched a little bit, like, I don't know, maybe like 3% of Masked Rider, and, yeah, but Power Rangers, I never missed an episode.
I don't know if it was him, if it was the show, or what, but just that guy, he was not a very great actor. Like looking,
What, Masked Rider?
Yeah, the guy that played Masked Rider.
I liked him. I again, that was just me. It was just hard for me to hate those kinds of things back in those days.
Well, yeah, back in the day, I was like, oh, that's cool, and he's got armor, but like looking back on it now, it's just like. It's like, your words are meaningless. Aya, 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 aya. Shut up.
Yeah, I wouldn't. I really think again, this goes back to again Hasbro just being completely greedy and just ruining what they're doing with Saban's. I tell you, all of those shows should only belong to Saban, because it seems like every time Saban has given the rights to any of those superhero shows, they've been ruined in some way or form. Not just Power Rangers, but just in general, because
the franchise has changed ownerships like 3 times.
I've only known this twice. I've only known it for 2 times. I've only known that he first gave the rights to Disney, and that was actually what I was going to begin with, was that when Power Rangers was owned by Disney, I may not have watched the show, but just from what like JDF had said and stuff like that, they were like, they didn't really let them have very much leeway, or whatever the word is, freeway on when doing the show. It was like you had to be very, very, very careful with the way they fought and all that stuff and everything. It's like you couldn't go shit because they think that you're cussing and stuff like that, and you can't look mean when you fight, and you can't kick to the head. And JDF said that there was a scene where he was to do a double bow staff, and they cut that because nunchucks are illegal and all that stuff. I'm like, oh my god. I mean, seriously, I love Disney, but seriously, it's all that stuff that makes Power Rangers good and all that, and they just... And not to mention the fact that they almost canceled Power Rangers. They almost got it canceled before Saban bought it back. And then, like I said, there was that, and then the only thing that I remember was that they gave it to Hasbro. Those are the only 2 that I've known other than Saban that has had Power Rangers, unless you know of more that I don't. So those are the only ones that I remember.
You said Disney and Hasbro? Well, back
Yeah,
in like
those are the only 2 that I
2011,
know.
back in like 2011, Saban had actually retaken back control of Power
Right.
Rangers.
That was when Disney decided that they were going to end it. They were going to cancel it, and everybody believed that this was the end of the Power Rangers. But then Saban bought it back.
Yeah.
And then now here it is on Hasbro, which again, the thing of it all was that, like I said, when Disney had the rights, I just told you a bunch of the stuff that made it just... I didn't watch it, but just from what the actors were saying about it, it just sounded like, what in the hell? What was the point? And everything. I mean, seriously, Power Rangers is all about fighting and everything. I mean, not all about, but it's got a whole bunch of fighting in it. If Disney really doesn't want all of that stuff in there, then why take the rights and stuff like that? And so there's that. And then you got to remember that it was actually...
I was fighting a Tenga warrior, and he flew at me, missed. Like, he completely missed me, and he fell in the water.
But when Hasbro bought the rights, they did much worse, because you got to remember that Netflix was what was keeping Power Rangers alive and everything, because they had the full Power Rangers library all on Netflix. But they didn't just have that. They had VR Troopers, they had Big Bad Beetleborgs, all of that. And it was a great way to keep the 90s Haim Saban superhero shows alive and everything, and kids that loved that stuff back in the 90s, they were able to go back and relive their childhood right there on Netflix. But once Hasbro got the rights on it, because they're so freaking greedy, all those shows left Netflix. And all I can think to myself is, now how are you supposed to watch things like VR Troopers and Big Bad Beetleborgs? Okay, you got Power Rangers on YouTube, but those other shows, how are you to watch them now? I mean, they only had like a few on VHS back in the day. They didn't release the whole series and all that stuff, and so Hasbro is destroying it.
A while back, I'm pretty sure they put both Beetleborgs and VR Troopers on DVD. But
I've yet to find those, but I would love to own those series. I
swear
downloaded them from
at,
online.
At, like Barnes and Noble, like back when they were out.
Yeah, I've yet to see those on DVD, but I would love to own those. I downloaded them all from online because, again, I want to get my girlfriend into those, just as I did Power Rangers. I told her if she likes Power Rangers, she may like these too, especially seeing as a... You're not going to believe this. I'll tell you a really funny story while we're live here, is that the main thing that I was able to get my girlfriend into Power Rangers, you're not going to believe this, it was because it had martial arts in it. My girlfriend takes karate, and and when I told her that they did karate and they did martial arts in Power Rangers, I said, who knows, maybe you'll watch the show and you'll be like, hey, I know that move, I know what they're learning, and stuff like that and everything, and that's how it all started. And she ended up getting into it because the fact of it is, I'm sure you've noticed that they kind of stopped with the martial arts as the show went on. It became less about the martial arts and more about the action fighting and all that stuff, just morphing and becoming a ranger and fighting on the streets, and just only every rare moment would they be working out at the gym. But she still fell in love with it, even though the martial arts kind of faded away. But that's what originally drew her in, because she is a karate person herself. She's already gotten multiple belts.
And like, they did this. It got so much to like some of the Disney seasons. Like, there was a guy. His name was like something Kalish, and during the Disney era, on shows like SPD, Mystic Force, Operation Overdrive, they would have what they called Kalish explosions. And what it was you would have a scene, somebody, like a bad guy or somebody would, or the Rangers, somebody would fire a blaster. There would be this huge explosion behind them, and they'd fly up into the air or whatever, and then it would replay the same shot in slow motion and like zoomed in. And they would do that like a lot.
Okay.
and it does that a lot. And then because there's another YouTuber that reviews Power Rangers seasons. He's called Linkara, and his videos are called The History of Power Rangers.
I've heard of them, but I don't think I've ever watched them.
Yeah, they're called The History of Power Rangers. And
yeah,
one thing he brought up in his review of Operation Overdrive was that he's like, we've got the Cal explosions now, only now they made it even worse, because like before the shot gets fired, you always hear both the Rangers and the villains all like every time there's an explosion, they always go fire. They always go fire.
Yeah,
and he put together like a little mashup of all the characters going fire, 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 fire. And it was so...
just use the same shot over and over again. Kids ain't gonna notice. Yeah, they are. Kids are smart, like JDF said.
Yeah,
that's the thing. I mean, it was just like here we are. I mean, yeah, kids are smarter than we think. I mean, here. JDF was actually saying that for the movie, they were originally going to hire big-named actors to play their parts. They were not going to get the originals to play the parts for the original film and everything. And JDF is like, you can't just put another guy in the White Ranger suit and say he's Tommy. Yeah, we can. No, you can't. Kids are smart. We're going to know that stuff. I'm pretty sure they can actually tell if you're doing the same shot over and over and over again. It was Saban. It was Saban that actually stepped in and said, no, you have to use the originals and all that. And like we couldn't find you. We thought you'd want too much money, and so and JDF even said, I don't know if it was Dino Thunder. I'm not sure which one it was because again I have not watched Dino Thunder yet. But JDF even said that there actually was this one moment or whatever where again I think it might have been with him in the Black Dino Thunder outfit or something where it's not even his voice, and he's like I would have done it if they had just asked me or something, but that's not my voice.
That was one of the
I haven't watched it yet.
That was one of the team
up.
But that was actually an episode of SPD. It was a team up crossover episode between Dino Thunder and SPD. And they had the guy that they had the guy that played the white Dino Thunder Ranger also doing the voice for the Black Ranger. And it's like
and
so it's like they do like the roll call pose, and it's like Tyranno, Tricera, Terra, and they get to the Black and White Rangers, and it's like Brachio, Drago, and it's like it's the exact same voice. Like,
that was actually something that I was actually noticing as a kid, but I never really paid it any mind because again I'm such a big fan. I'm not really paying that much attention to it, but I did definitely notice, and it wasn't until I got older that I suddenly realized what was going on, and it was again when Austin, Twee, and Walter had gone on strike, and they were getting ready to hire Rocky, Adam, and Aisha, and they had those sound-alikes. The one moment where I noticed it the most, it was. Yeah, it's like it wasn't. I mean, now I see other moments, but as a kid, the time that I noticed it the most, like I said, I've noticed it other times now. Like now as an adult when I'm watching it, such as like in the episode where I think it's called Beauty and the Beast or whatever, where they kidnap Kimberly to make her Zed's wife and everything as Rita, and Trini and Billy, they rescue her, and Trini all of a sudden has a British accent.
I thought you were on the spell.
Like that.
Voice.
Yeah, that one, and then of course the I forget the name of the episode, but when they're fighting against Pursehead, and Tommy and Kimberly are frozen, and then Zach runs on as the Black Ranger, and he's like, "Come on, Pursehead," like that, or something all Urkel-like and everything, But I didn't really notice those as a kid, but now I do. But as a kid, the one that I noticed the most, that I was like thinking that is so not him, was when they arrived on the planet. I forget what it's called, where they were to retrieve the sword and everything to transfer the powers.
Yeah,
is when they see Serpentera up above, and Tommy's like, "Oh man, it's Lord Zed. He must be here for the statue." And then Jason goes to talk. "Get out of here! I'll try and distract him. Are you sure? Don't worry about me. I'll call on my Zord. We'll meet at the statue." I'm like, that does not sound like Jason at all. And I'm like, as a kid, I'm like noticing that, but I just didn't pay attention. I just let it go or whatever because I'm a kid. But now that I'm older and I know what was going on, that it wasn't him, and I'm like, it all makes sense. And I'll never forget. I'll never forget every single time I watch. Whenever I watch when the Terra Blossom, when he has frozen Jason, Zach, and Trini, and they got to get him back to the command center, and Billy uses one of his inventions to bring them back to life, and they start talking, "Man, what's going on here? I don't understand." Like that and everything. I'm like, who are you and what have you done with the real Rangers? I'm like, did the Terra Blossom screw up your voices as well? But like I said, it just, again, it's great. I understand that during those moments, they didn't really have a choice, if you know what I mean, because, well, the actors went on strike. They wanted more money and all that stuff, so I can understand that. But, again, what you're talking about, JDF even said, I would have done it if they had just asked me. It just shows that they're just being jerks, and they're just wanting money, and they don't want to waste their time on getting the originals back. Let's just hire sound-alikes that sound nothing like them.
On another note, kind of, about would have done it, but was I've noticed lately that it's like it feels like a lot of the like any choice that gets made has to be defended by the people, and I'm like that they shouldn't have to defend themselves. They're people just like anybody else. Was that I don't know if you saw, if you're on Twitter, but that
I am, but I don't
like this
use it that much.
This past week, because people were going on and on and on about how Amy Jo Johnson didn't do
yeah, I know what you're gonna say. I know what you're
because
talking
of
about.
money, and she's like, maybe I just didn't want to do it. Maybe it's like
the truth of it is,
she's like, I'm 50 years old. Maybe I don't want to wear spandex.
Right. The truth of it is, or whatever. No, I'm not saying anything against Amy Jo. I'm really not. No, no, no. I love Amy Jo. She is Kimberly. I defend her every step of the way. I'm just saying that I do think, though, that it would have been something very, very, very nice if she had maybe later on had decided maybe I will come back, because I got this idea because it happened with another show that I had watched or whatever, because after JDF's tragic passing and everything, I think it would have been a great way to honor JDF as if she had said, I'll do it for him. Because I know that she really, really loved him a lot, and you saw her video of her crying her eyes out and everything, and I just think that would have been just very, very, very sweet for her to say, I'll do it for Jason. I'll do it for him. I'll come back for him. I mean, but no, I'm not against her at all. I'm completely on her side. I just think that would have been very sweet.
Just like, I'm reading this post on Twitter. I'm looking at some of the comments, and they're just so insensitive. It's like, some of them are like, you know, it's like, oh, you owe your fans an explanation. They made your career and blah blah blah. And then somebody tried to use Jason as a weapon. They're like, if Jason were alive, he would want you to do it. It's like, Jason didn't want to do it before he died. He said he wasn't going to do it because he had his
the one thing that's ticking me off. I don't care what anybody says. I really don't. I know that this is wrong. I know what JDF said. Yes, he said that he would not come back because, and he gave his reasons, but now they're actually trying to put words in his mouth and actually say that he wanted Tommy and the Green Ranger, White Ranger, etc. to be retired. No, he did not. He never said that he wanted the characters retired. He just said that he didn't want to come back. That doesn't mean that somebody couldn't, take over his powers. They're trying to make it seem like he wanted the character to just never, ever have nobody else to have Green Ranger powers or have the White Ranger powers, and now here his daughter Jenna might have a chance of being the new Green Ranger, and there are a few people saying that they cannot support Jenna with what she's doing because he said he wanted his character retired. No, he didn't. He never said that. He just said that he was done. He didn't. I'm sure he would. I'm sure he's proud of Jenna and that he would want his daughter to do this. So,
and the thing is, even if she decides not to, what other, because other people are like, oh, she has to, like, she doesn't have to do anything. Like, again,
nobody's got to do anything. No,
like, if she decides she doesn't want to do anything with Power Rangers, that's perfectly fine.
We talking about Jenna or Amy here?
Jenna.
Oh, okay, yeah. But I know that she wants to, though. She's already been saying it for a while. I mean, she's talking about her chances. I know she wants to, and I mean, you saw the cameo that I got from her for my girlfriend. I don't know if I told you this or not, but I mean, I kept in touch with her. Yeah, Jenna. I kept in touch with her prior to her making the cameo. When I discovered that she had a cameo now, I was like, oh my god, I gotta get this for my girlfriend. She would love this. So I got some money together from somebody. I can't remember who gave it to me, but somebody gave me some money, and I placed the order, and I sent Jenna an Instagram message telling her that I had requested a cameo from her, and every message that I had sent to her prior, she didn't really answer, and I thought, well, I'm just another fan. She can't get around to everybody. This she actually got back to me on. She got back to me and she said, oh yes, I got the order. I'll definitely do this. I would be honored to try and be there for you and your girlfriend, and hopefully I can, you know, make things better for you two. I would be honored to do this. And we actually kept in touch up till she did it. She even went as far as to send me voice messages via Instagram. She actually sent me voice messages, not just typing, saying like she was on her way to LA to meet with her I don't know if it was her grandfather or if it was her uncle or it was somebody around there. I think it might have been her grandfather, but she was going out to, like, be with them, what with the passing of her dad and everything and all that stuff. And she kept on saying, don't worry, I'm gonna do it, I promise you, all that stuff. And then she ended up saying that she got stranded in LA because she came down with COVID, and you can't travel when you have COVID and all that stuff, and so her mom had to leave her there for a time until she got better and blah blah blah. But she called me bro. I think that's what it was. I think it was bro, and I'm like thinking that's exactly what her dad would call his fans and all that stuff, is he would call them bro and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh god, she is so much her father. And we just kept on communicating back and forth. I had to keep on requesting the cameo because it kept on expiring. But she just said, just keep on going and keep sending it. I will do it. I promise. And everything. And she eventually did. And you saw it. And so, she wants to be a ranger. I know she does. I know. I have no second thoughts about that at all and everything. I just wish that, you know, I wish they would get on it.
Whether she doesn't, whether she does or whether she doesn't, it's either choice is totally fine.
Absolutely, yeah. I just think it would be perfect. I mean, a great way for her to live her father's legacy, and not to mention the fact that, I mean, it could also help her continue with her acting career. She wants to be an actress, just like her dad was an actor. And this, what a perfect way then to be one of, well, I guess you want to say one of your acting debuts. I mean, I know she was in her dad's movie, but I mean, one of her big starring things would be continuing her father's shoes as a Power Ranger. That would be perfect for her resume.
Yeah.
But no, I agree with you 100%. Yeah, it's entirely up to those people. And you're right, it seems like almost everything needs to be defended these days and everything, and it's just, they're turning what was once a role model thing into like this controversy thing. They think that everything about this is now controversy, when it used to be something that you could really look up to. It involved a lot of fighting. A lot of people say the reason I am the way I am today is because of the Power Rangers. Not so much anymore. Now everything is controversy with them.
Yeah. And you mentioned that the people that you had met. I've never actually done a cameo, like had a cameo with anybody. So, I'm not sure if you like gift those to people or you just.
You can. They're it's really cool. You just gotta download. You can do it on the computer, but I prefer to do it on the phone. You just download the app on your phone, or you can do it on the computer. You set up your own account, and it's got all kinds of celebrities. You know, whether they're sports players, whether they're actors.
A couple times, right?
I'm sorry.
You got Roger Bart to do it a couple times, right?
Go Power Glizzes.
Once, and that was my girlfriend got him for me. That was before he became so expensive. That's the main issue with cameos, is that a lot of them are really pricey. That was the only reason why I was able to get Jenna for my girlfriend, because she was so cheap. She was only like, I think, $5-10. That was it. A lot of these actors, I swear to God, some of them are like $500.
Didn't you have one?
Yeah.
Didn't you get one from Jason?
From who?
Jason David Frank.
Yes, that my girlfriend got him for me too. I'm glad that she did. I feel terrible that I could never get him for her, but the reason why I couldn't was because his price went up. That's the thing. These people may start out as one price, but their price may go up or their price may go down, and he at one point was at a level that my girlfriend could actually afford. She got him for me as a surprise. He did the evil Green Ranger laughter when she didn't even ask him to do it. He just did it anyway, so that was just, oh god, I miss that man, and all that. And but then sometime after she got him for me, his price went up into the hundreds, and I cannot afford that, so I was never able to get him for her before, you know what happened. Amy Jo is up there in the hundreds too, and I would love to have her as a cameo, but she's just too expensive for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd
love to meet her one day. Just not getting to meet Jason is because, and part of it was because of X-Force, because this in my series, it takes place in an alternate universe where Tommy married Kimberly instead of Kat.
Of course.
And so again, Tommy and Kimberly are the mentors, and their daughter is the Pink Ranger in that series.
Right.
And so I was wanting to at some point, once I had the money to get like an artwork done, because I've had artwork commissions done for these Rangers, and I was gonna get both Jason and Amy Jo to sign it, since their characters are the mentors. But then obviously that's not a possibility anymore.
Yeah, I know how you feel. My girlfriend and I are both feeling the exact same way, that we'll never get our chance to meet Jason now and everything. It's just every single time I watch the show and I just see his smile, it just kills me to know that he's gone. And everything, you know, it just, I mean, God, out of all the Rangers, not that I would want any of the Rangers to die, of course not, but just, oh, not him. It's just, oh. But,
I've never had a cameo, and but I have gotten to meet two Power Rangers so far. It was like in 2019. I went to a Comic-Con that they were having here, and I got to meet Austin St. John.
Lucky.
And like, he was real. Like, I was like kind of nervous because everyone's like, "Oh, he's such a horrible person," and he wasn't. He was really nice. Like,
he's not.
And like, I had had a Red Ranger cosplay that I was wearing, and I wasn't able to get boots for it, so I went to Walmart the night before, bought just some regular old rain boots, and I was up all night painting them. And like, when I got there, they looked great. And not only, he's like, and I told him like how I made it, and he's like, "You made that?" I said, "Yeah." He turns and because he was at one of those like panel tables where you know, the panels, like the tables at the cons, where you can line up and meet people. Well, at the table next to him was Ray Park, who played Darth Maul in Star Wars.
Okay. Yeah.
And he turns to Ray Park and goes, "Yeah, look at this guy's cosplay." And he's like, "He made those boots." And I was like, "Oh my god, Austin St. John just complimented my cosplay of his character."
He's not a bad guy. Okay, yeah, I know he committed fraud, but the thing that I say is that everybody makes mistakes. He made a little mistake in his life, and he whatever, but it's not like he killed anybody, you know? I mean,
and to be honest, from what I saw, again, I don't know all the details, but from what I saw, he was more of he wasn't the ringleader in that at all. He was like a third party or something.
Right.
That kind of got roped into it. But
the cameos that I've gotten that were Rangers, Like I said, I got Jenna for my girlfriend. I got Catherine Sutherland for 2 people. My girlfriend being one of them. I believe I got her for my girlfriend, but I also got her for my the guy who was the best man at my wedding when I got married years ago. A very good friend of mine. I got David. I forget his name. He played Zordon.
David Fielding.
He was the very, very first Power Ranger cameo that I ever got. I also got him for my for the same guy that I just said that I got Catherine for. My girlfriend got me Walter, Zach. She got him for me out of a surprise. She knew that I had been feeling depressed and I had been feeling down. And all of a sudden, she sends me this link and she goes, "This is for you." And I'm like, "What the F did you do?" And I'm looking, I'm like, "Oh my god." Yeah, and so I got a Walter Jones, and the same thing with JDF. She got him for me because before she moved back in with her parents, she used to work at this, I guess it was an old people's home, I guess it was, and it was a dead day, really nothing to do, and everything. She really didn't have that much to do, and she was kind of just...
Not fair.
What's that?
Oh, I'm playing the game, and like before there was only one nasty night. Now when I respawn, there's 2 of them. I'm like,
oh, he's one of my favorite monsters. But she was just sitting at work, had nothing really to do, and she said that she just felt like doing something for me to make me smile, and so she got me a cameo of JDF. Yeah, and so she got him for me and all that, and I also got for her it was kind of another Valentine's Day gift in a way.
Welcome to the stream, everybody. We have 7 people watching right now.
Oh, nice. This is awesome. I like being on this. But I also got her for Valentine's Day. I got her not the original, but the 1 episode replacement actress who played Sabrina. I mean Scorpina.
Sabrina Lou.
That's right. Yeah, she was really she was very sweet. She mentioned JDF in the cameo, and she actually gave me one of her lines from the episode, like, "Thanks for the advice, Power Ranger, but I can take care of myself."
Of course she said that.
She was so sweet.
I don't know if thanks for the advice. Yeah, I could take care. She says that line. I don't know if you knew, she does the voice of Scorpina in the Battle for the Grid video game.
Oh, is that the phone game?
No, it's a fighting game on console. JDF.
Oh, because I was going to say there is a fighting Power Ranger game on your phone too that you can download the app.
That's Legacy.
Yeah,
Wars.
I used to have that, but I had to get rid of it because my phone it's terrible with phone storage, and now I can't play it anymore, and I'm so upset.
I got rid of it honestly because it really, I was spending way too much money on it. It felt like a pay-to-win game.
Oh, I got it for free.
No, I mean the game itself is free, but like to unlock the characters and all their special abilities.
Oh, well, I was kind of earning the characters, if you know what I mean. The more I won, the more the more characters I would get.
Well,
but those are
I would constantly be losing because I'd be going up against people who like went and shelled out a bunch of money to buy the stuff.
Right. I wonder if you actually knew this. I better bring this up. This is actually something kind of interesting. I don't know if you knew this or whatever. I mean, it kind of goes along with Austin, Twee, and Walter, but just later on in the show, not at the same time as them. But I mean, as you obviously know, that when Tommy's brother was on the show, that was JDF's real life brother, and all that. May he rest in peace, and all that.
That's who his character in the movie is named after.
What's that?
I said that's who his character in the movie is named after. His brother's name is Eric, and that's JDF's character's name in the movie.
Oh, I couldn't remember what his name was. Interesting. Oh, well, isn't that sweet? Name your character after your brother. I always did find it a little bit depressing and everything that we really only saw him again maybe like 2 more episodes after that whole storyline with the Arrowhead, that he appeared here and there just maybe interacting with them but really had nothing to do. But I bet you probably did. You may have known this, you may not have known this, but there's actually a reason to why his character left. And I know some people want to believe that it was because he came down sick or whatever, but that's actually not true. It actually had nothing to do with him coming down sick and, you know, that led to his death and that's why he had to leave the show. That's actually nothing to do with it. JDF actually confirmed this, actually. Because if you look on YouTube at this, one of the Comic-Con conventions, whatever you want to call it, it was him, Steve Cardenas, Karen Ashley, and Robert Axelrod, may he rest in peace. It was all of them doing a Q&A, and when he was talking about when his brother was on the set and all that, some fan actually asked, was your brother actually going to ever? And he goes, I don't know, man. I don't think they talked about that. I mean, my brother, he kind of went on strike like after episode 6. He wanted more money. I'm like, you don't do that with Saban, man. If you go on strike, you go far away to the peace conference or something. And he's like, yeah, he did pull the strike card, and then they dubbed his voice with like some horrible actor, like a surfer or something, because, you know, my brother was all big guy. And he's like, hey, how's it going? My brother's like, look, seriously, what'd you do that for? You know, and so that's actually kind of interesting to know that his own brother actually went on strike as well, just like the original 3, where all these people think that he left because he was sick and dying or something, but no, he went on strike too.
Yeah. He was
that's just hilarious. I
heard he was the candidate for the Gold Ranger.
I hadn't heard anything about that.
And then when
I hadn't heard anything
when he
about
left
that.
the show,
No,
and then when he left the show, they got Austin to come back for it.
Yeah, I hadn't heard anything about that. I do know a lot of fans have actually asked David Yost, that was he actually scheduled to be the Gold Ranger, but then he just left and it not happened. And David Yost said, I know that a lot of the storyline was building up that it was going to be me and everything, but the truth of it is it never was going to be me. No, that was never written in the script that Billy was to become the Gold Ranger. Even though there was a lot of build up to that, it was not meant to be so. No, it was never written that way. Even though I think that's a real shame, because it would have been great. I guess I understand. They were just following what Japanese stock footage they had, and by Zeo, they only had 5 Rangers instead of 6 and everything, so they had to get rid of somebody, and I guess they figured that it was time for Billy to move on and everything. But I'm glad that they kept him on and everything, even if he wasn't a Power Ranger anymore. But it was such a real shame that he, if you think about it, David Yost really, as Billy, only got to do basically just Mighty Morphin and Ninja, and that was it. Whereas all the others got to move on to all of these other Ranger times, whereas David Yost just got 2. Yeah, and yeah, I've been wanting to bring this up for a while, and I actually am going to bring it up and everything. I know this is something that you and I have somewhat talked about this to everybody listening and all that stuff, and everybody watching and reading. I'm going to come right out and I'm going to say this, and I'm sure a lot of fans out there, I'm sure a lot of you are going to hate me for this, but I'm not... this kind of leads into 2 things that I'm going to mention or whatever, is because, yes, I am a major Cat fan and everything. No, I do stand by or whatever that I do feel that Kimberly was better. I will say to that. I will say that I feel that Kimberly was better, everybody, so don't hate me. I'm not saying Kimberly sucked, because she didn't. But I do think that she was better, and she was better for Tommy. But the only thing that I'm saying is that I really just don't feel like it's really fair to put all the hate on Kat, if you know what I mean. I really think that she was an excellent... I think the word is candidate, I think the word is. I don't know if that's the proper word, or successor. I guess the word is successor. She was much better. She was a great, worthy continuing of Kimberly's Pink Ranger. And it's like they even
Henry,
say
we know
that...
you all simp over dead girls.
I beg your pardon?
Oh, every time I bring up anything about Kimberly, because I love Amy Jo Johnson. She was my first ever.
Oh, so do
crush.
I.
And my friend Henry, who's in the chat right now, is talking about how he says training was better in general. He liked Toy Train. And
Yeah. Yeah, I can't really decide who I like better when it comes to Yellow Rangers, but Pink Rangers, I do think that Kimberly is the best Pink Ranger. Yes, she is. And she was Tommy's soulmate. Yes, she was. But the only thing I'm saying is I just don't think it's fair that so many people bash on Kat. The woman was a very great actress. She had a lot of potential. She even told me when we were talking, they did everything they could to make her very, very, very different from Kimberly. I think that's one of the biggest things that people didn't like.
That's my wife's biggest issue with Kat. She hates Kat, like even more than I do. And her big thing was because she said that they just made her take Kimberly's place and take her man and take everything from her, and it's like.
I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really care for the whole Dear John letter thing. I thought that was really, I don't know, maybe out of character for Kimberly, but at the same time, even though I don't care for it, I do understand where they were going with it. They just they were pushing for a Kat and Tommy storyline. But the thing of it is, I just love it. Yes, I love again, I'll never stop saying it. I will have your side till the day I die. Tommy and Kimberly to the end. All hail Tommy and Kimberly. But all I'm gonna say is that if he can't have Kimberly, since Kimberly left the show, I would rather him be with Kat than anybody else, is all I'm trying to say. I'm just saying that Kat really, she did care for the guy. It's not like she was, I'm not going to curse, I don't know what I should be saying on your show, so I'm just going to say it's not like she was a bully or she was a bad girl or anything. She was a real sweetheart, and she really, really cared for him and was there for him, and she did everything she could to make him happy and all that. They could have done a lot worse. They could have brought on this BITCH. They could have done that, but no. Kat was a sweetheart.
Well,
and you gotta remember, in the end...
She kind of was in the beginning, but that's partially because she was being brainwashed by Rita.
Of course, yeah, that wasn't her fault, just like it wasn't Tommy's fault when he was the evil Green Ranger. When you're under a spell, it's never your fault. You're under a spell. You're being controlled. So, but I mean, and she's actually even told me that was some of her favorite episodes, was that she got to be bad and that she also got to voice the cat monster. And so, which I would actually think that they probably would have gotten a different actress to voice the cat monster.
She's voiced a few of the monsters over the years.
Oh yes. For a while, I actually thought that she retired from acting and that she was doing something else because she was a mom now and all that. But then when I met her, she goes, I do a little acting and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, interesting. So, but anyways, I just hate it or whatever that so many people bash on her and hate her so much, because I love her to bits. She's no Kimberly, and yes, she even agreed with me on this, that this was one of the things that fans didn't like. And yeah, I'm not gonna lie, was a lot of fans didn't like it that, well, okay, so Tommy got with Kat in the end, but they never shared a kiss and everything, whereas Tommy did with Kimberly. And so I do agree with that, and I think even Kat herself even agrees.
No Rangers have ever kissed except for Tommy and Kimberly, ever.
You're right. Even Ashley and Andros didn't. When there were like several moments where they could have and they didn't.
Wes and Jen, or you haven't gotten to Time Force, but
no.
But they literally in the finale, they pretty much set it up for the Red and Pink Rangers and Time Force to get together.
The way that I see it, though,
they literally say, there's this big romantic scene. It's like she says, "I love you," and he says, "I love you too." I wish, because she's from the future and she has to go back to the future, and so they can't be together because of that. And she goes, "I love you," and he says, "I love you too. I wish I could live 1,000 more years so that we could be together." Cool Chris B says hi guys. What's up, Chris B?
Hey. Yeah, the way that I see it,
But
to
they
be totally
but
honest,
they hugged. They never kissed.
yeah, exactly. I'll say this is that again, Team Kimberly all the way. But the way that I kind of see it was that even though Tommy and Kimberly was true love, I see it more as a more like a teenage kind of love, whereas Kat was more of his adult love, if you know what I mean. Because I mean, come on, and this was something that totally shocked me because I just found this out a few months ago. I couldn't believe it after all these years of having watched the show. I couldn't believe that this was actually real until like a number of months ago. I'd want to say maybe like November, December, maybe January, somewhere around there. I found this out. So many years that I had watched the show when I watched that Zio episode actually showing the future that Tommy and Kat had actually married. I didn't think it was canon. For many years, I thought that it was just some fan fiction-y thing that they just decided just to make just for fun, because I thought to myself, there is no season where Tommy's son or grandson or whatever is a Power Ranger. So this has got to be fiction. But then, when I did some research and all that, and then I found out about that episode where Tommy does come back, and so do a number of the other Rangers like Kat and Rocky and all of them, and it actually shows Tommy does have a son, and he is married to Kat. And I'm like, you have got to be kidding me. That is canon? No effing way, after all these years.
It doesn't confirm.
I couldn't believe it.
Like,
the
show never addresses that he's married to Kat, but it does say that he has a son.
Well, yeah, but I believe that they did because... I believe that they did because at the again, I didn't watch that episode. I just watched the scenes. But at the end of that episode, when all of the Rangers have to go back home and they have to jump into their portals, Tommy and Kat, they're holding hands and they jump into the same portal together, whereas all the others go into different portals. So that just kind of shows that Tommy and Kat are going home together to be with their son.
And their
so
son
that's how I pick it up.
And I mean, their son JJ. I don't know if you've read the comics that are out, but there's a comic called Soul of the Dragon, where you see an older Tommy, and his son is an SPD officer and becomes the SPD Green Ranger.
Yeah, and that kind of leads me to something. You were talking about this a little bit ago, but this all adds up with Tommy and Kat and Tommy and Kimberly and all that. You were mentioning this earlier, that you say that you were writing an alternate universe. Well, my girlfriend and I, we do this sometimes either at night or in the morning before she goes to work. We do this every once in a while. We're kind of writing our own alternate universe in a way, very similar to the reboot movie and everything. You know, the reboot movie that I'm really upset about that they canceled the sequel. Dang Hasbro. Again, there's that. We could have had an awesome sequel there, and Hasbro blew us off to reboot it all over again. But anyways, we're kind of doing something similar to that. We're taking all of the Rangers, keeping their names, keeping their colors, keeping their Zords, keeping their powers, but we're giving them completely different personalities from how they are in the show. And I don't want to be shocking you. Again, to everybody out there watching and listening, I don't want to say anything, inappropriate, but the truth of it is, if you really look at it, again, her and I, we write a little bit of it, whenever in the morning or at night, but it's actually become more like an X-rated Power Rangers story, if you know what I mean. It is very, very, very inappropriate.
It has its trashy romance novel moments.
Exactly.
I have I kind of have a... Not necessarily. I started writing like a prequel series also to my series X-Force, and it pretty much goes into how Tommy and Kimberly got back together. Pretty much explains what happened between Tommy and Kat and why they broke up, and and pretty much one of the big things was that Tommy in that universe, Tommy never got over Kimberly, and that was what caused him and Kat to break up. And so he was just alone for years, did his own thing, became a science teacher and all this stuff, and then comes to find out that he takes a trip back to Angel Grove for like their class reunion, and then it kind of comes out that, you know, because she's been doing gym and he's been doing his science stuff, and it comes out that the letter that she sent him was forged, that she never wrote it. That her manager, she had this like crooked manager that he wrote it because he didn't want Tommy to be a distraction to her.
Before I continue what I was saying about what me and my girlfriend are writing, the thing that, oh my god, I just wish that people would give it up already, if you know what I mean. I'm so sick and tired of people making this fictional romance with this or whatever, that it just ticks me off so ever loving so much and everything, that so many people say that Dear John letter was written that Kimberly was breaking up with Tommy to go be with Jason just because the two were together in the Turbo movie. It was not a freaking romance, for crying out loud. There's never a romance between Kimberly and Jason except for the reboot movie, and it's an entirely different story. It has nothing to do with the TV show. People need to cut that whole thing.
I count the 2017. I count the 2017 storyline as an alternate universe too.
Oh, I just think of it as a whole new thing. I don't count it as an alternate universe. I don't really think of very much things as alternate universes. Whenever something is rebooted, I think of it as kind of its own thing, not really another universe or alternate anything. I just think of it as its own thing. But I just wish that people would just quit with that idea. Just because Jason and Kimberly were captured together, that doesn't mean that they were dating and all that. She met a guy at the gymnastics competitions with that jerk coach who I never liked and everything, you know. And I mean, but everybody believes that it's Jason just because they were captured together in Turbo. Don't you remember? Jason came back as the Gold Ranger for a short time, for crying out loud. Or he might have even already been there when Tommy got the Dear John letter. I can't remember if he was there yet or not. But how in the world could she have broken up with Tommy to be with Jason if he was either there already or if he came back shortly after the Dear John letter? It makes no sense. But everybody says if she's not with Tommy, she's with Jason. There was never a romance between them. God.
Again,
but what I was saying... Yeah.
You were saying what?
What's that you were saying?
Oh, I was saying that, again, yeah, because, like, in the story I'm writing, Jason's in there, too, and he's more of just, like, Kimberly's, like, best friend that she, like, talks to more regularly than the others, and that... Like, again, because I kind of looked at it, and how would it look from Kimberly's perspective if she never wrote the letter? Was that, okay, so she's there, she thinks she and Tommy have this great long-distance relationship. She comes back to Angel Grove in the Turbo movie, and suddenly Tommy's with Kat. Like, and she's like, what the hell? And...
Right.
And so then... She's upset. Jason just kind of comforts her, not like romantically or anything, but just like, again, as her friend, being there for her. She goes back.
Well, if you
throws all of herself into her training and her gymnastics and all this stuff.
Right. If you if you've ever seen the Power Ranger fan club, like if you ever joined the fan club back in the day, back in the 90s when it was a big thing and they had the Power Ranger fan club, if you watch the Power Ranger fan club video that it came with, you can get it on DVD and you can also see it on YouTube. Kimberly even mentions that Jason is like a big brother and everything, and that's it and everything. Yeah, she says that Tommy's cute, but she says Jason is like a big brother. So that's really it. And people just get the stupid idea to invent Gimberly. There is no such thing. Crud. There was never any signs of romance between the two. I mean, I could actually see signs of romance between Adam and Aisha a little bit, you know, here and there, particularly with their ancestors in the Wild West episode. I could see little hints of romance between Billy and Trini. I could see I don't know. I could see maybe a little bit of Adam and Tanya, a little bit, but there was never anything of Jason and Kimberly, and people just out of nowhere just invent this poof for the Jason and Kimberly romance when there was nothing like that.
Well, again, in the comics, what kind of annoyed me talking about, because you mentioned something that I've said to people before, and they think I'm like crazy for saying it, is Billy in training. And I'm like, Billy and training were like super close, like to the point she understood him like in a way that
more
other
than
people
anybody
did.
else.
Yeah, and like in the series, again, the girl Katrina that I said is Trini's daughter. Again, you find out in season 3, Billy is her father. And it wasn't just like they didn't get married or anything, because again, Billy came back one night. It was like a one-night thing, and then he had to go back to Aquatar because of his aging issue, and never realized that she had a kid. And that.
Well, yeah, I mean, David Yost even said that he thought that it would have been nice if they had pushed for Billy and Trini to actually have a romance, but it never happened. So, but the point of it is that it could have worked, though.
And people both... And yeah, people don't... Like, people don't think about... Because... Separate the character from the actor, because they're like, oh, they can't... She wouldn't be with Billy because Billy's gay. And I'm like, no, the actor
David Yost is gay. Not Billy.
Zach and Trini is the only
going back to what I was saying or whatever about what my girlfriend and I are writing or whatever.
If that's the ship you accept, go ahead. But I'm Team Billy and Trini all the way. Sorry.
Me too, totally. I'm entirely there.
Henry said in the chat. Did you say something about Zach and Aisha? I thought you'd said Adam and Aisha.
No, I said Adam and Aisha.
Yeah, he said Adam and Aisha. Because he put why Zach and Aisha? Because they're both black.
Oh no, no! I said. I mean, Zach wasn't even around when Aisha was there. No, Adam and Aisha. Like I said, especially with their ancestors in the Wild West episode, I especially saw little hints of romance there. I could see a little bit. I mean, I know a lot of people seem to have this thing that Adam and Tanya had a romance. I could sort of see that. Tanya. I don't. What's that?
I said, yeah, I ship him with Tanya, but
yeah, it's like I said. It was especially during the Goldar's vice versa episode that it was actually Aisha who was the one that Adam hung out with the most. She was trying to help him get a date to the dance, and if you know what I mean, and stuff like that. It seemed like Adam and Aisha hung out together a lot and everything, and that's why I thought to myself, you know, they could have been a thing, but also could have Adam and Tanya too. Yeah. So, but
Kimberly was the first person everyone beat. Oh God, Henry. Kimberly was the first person everyone pleasured themselves to. Only he phrased it differently.
Oh, well, she was all the '90s girls' first crush, '90s guys' first crush. So, but what I was saying in in my girlfriend and my in our story and everything is that my girlfriend she refuses to allow Kimberly and Tommy to break up and for him to end up with Kat. So excuse me. We've in our story, yeah, they do get married and they do have a daughter. However, it's actually Kimberly's pregnancy, which is actually the reason why she stops being a ranger and passes the powers on to Kat and everything.
Oh, you ever been
and,
like a teenage pregnancy kind of thing?
Well, I don't know. We never really brought that out, whether they were still teenagers or if they were adults. We never really brought that out. But that's why Kimberly has to give up being a ranger, because she gets pregnant and she's gonna be a mom. So she gives the powers to Kat. But just like Billy, who is still a ranger at this point in our story, but he hasn't quit being a ranger yet.
Man,
But just like with Billy on Zeo, who stayed on even though he wasn't a ranger, Kimberly is the same thing. Kimberly stays on in our story even though she's not a ranger. She's just kind of there supporting her husband. And in this version,
Sorry.
in this story that we do and everything, we basically created an original character who we call Eric. Oh my God, coincidence! Yeah, I didn't even know that. Again, yeah, Eric. The only difference was that we got the idea from the Phantom of the Opera and everything, you know, because the Phantom's name is Eric.
Eric, yeah.
So we named the character after that, and we basically wrote this guy. He comes to Angel Grove because he's a very, very, very big supporter of the Rangers, having heard about them on the news and read about them in the papers, and he's a very, very big fan of theirs, and he really, really wants to be, you know, like, show he's such a big fan of the Rangers, and then he ends up finding out their identities, and he ends up falling in love with Kat and everything, and that basically gives Kat a boyfriend. Instead of having her have Tommy, she ends up with this Eric character instead.
Everyone I saw kept... There were so many people that kept trying to put Kat with Rocky.
I have not seen that, nor can I actually envision that on the show.
I can't envision it on the show either. Like, Henry mentioned. It's
kind of funny, really, or whatever, because at a convention that I saw on YouTube, people are always wondering why was it that Rocky could never get a woman. Well, I mean, Adam had a date here and there, Billy had a date here and there, Tommy had Kimberly and Kat. Rocky could hardly ever get anybody, if you know what I mean. And Rocky says, how in the world is Rocky supposed to get a date when he can't even get a blind girl to go out with him? He's right, he couldn't. He couldn't get anybody. He couldn't even get a blind girl to go out with him. Oh my God. But, I mean, poor Rocky, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I can't really see it on the show. I guess Rocky was too much of a jokester, if you know what I mean, whereas Kat was just so more down to earth and more serious. Again, I'm sorry. I see nothing wrong with...
Rocky was...
Yeah, I'm sorry. I see nothing wrong with him. And Kat and Tommy, especially because I mean, you've mentioned this to me on Facebook that you're like me. You're also a romantic and all that. I'm an extreme romantic, and whenever I see Kat and Tommy, even though they've never shared a kiss like he did with Kimberly, just the way that they look at each other and just the sweetness in their voices, it really just makes my heart melt. And I just think that she was a fine, worthy successor and earned Tommy, if you know what I mean. Kimberly wasn't there. Kimberly moved on. She decided to go off and do gymnastics, and it wasn't the fault of, you know, anything like that. Amy Jo wanted to leave. So I mean it's a lot better that Tommy have somebody in his life than be a bachelor and all that stuff, you know. It's a lot better, and I think Kat was a great person for him, and like I said, she really loved him. It wasn't like she was a jerk or anything who treated him badly or just put his life in danger. She really, really cared about her man and stuff like that. And so that's why I just love the two together.
I guess I wish that she struck me as an opportunist. It was just like, oh, Kimberly's gone, time to swoop in. It's like,
well, it was especially, you also have to remember all of that she did with that actress that character played by Sarah Brown from VR Troopers that came on the show for a few episodes. There's no business like snow business and everything. You gotta remember.
Lodge, right?
Right. Yeah, what a coincidence. Not only is she from VR Troopers, but she's also a soap opera actress, so it's interesting to know that was her.
Hello, everyone.
But
welcome to
you gotta remember that it was Kat
Morphin
who was
Monday.
the one that set up all of those dates between the two and everything. She wasn't the one making the moves on Tommy. She was trying to see to it that he was happy. It just kind of turned in that they were a couple and everything when too much problems started happening where Tommy had to go defend the world and she and that what's her face, whatever her name is, she gave up on him, leaving him alone. And Kat even said, I just thought that your life would be easier if you had somebody in your life. And he goes, it's just something I'm gonna have to get used to. Well, you're a great friend, Kat, and I appreciate what you did, but this is just how it's gonna have to be. And then what do you know? It was Tommy that invited her onto the dance floor, not her. She didn't do anything. He invited her, so he obviously had feelings too. That's why I can't really see it as like what you're seeing it as, an opportunist. I can't see it like that because she did everything for him. He was the one that invited her for the dance. So, I mean, I think of opportunist as the girl as the one that's making the moves, not the guy. But like I said, no, I will always be Tommy and Kimberly's shipper, and it is very, very upsetting that they didn't end up together. But if he can't have Kimberly, I definitely say that Kat is perfect for him, if not Kimberly. So, but, you know, like I said, our story is turning out, I mean, I'm trying to get her to, like, my girlfriend, I'm trying to get her to get more, let us get more fights in there, if you know, because that's what Power Rangers is. It's the fights. But she wants to focus a lot more on the romance of the characters, and it's turning into more of a soap opera than it is a Power Rangers story, if you know what I mean. I keep telling her, get away from the... I'm a romantic too. Romance is my favorite genre, but get away from the romance for a little bit. We're talking... Power Rangers here, for crying out loud. They need to fight. They need to defend the world. Cut the romance for a bit. And she's like, fighting sucks.
Fighting sucks.
And I'm like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, no, see, that's not an issue with my prequel series, because that takes place kind of... It takes place after they've already been Rangers. So it's like the world's kind of at peace right now. So it's...
Yeah.
So they have time to do all that. All the more.
I'm right now, we're approaching the storyline. It's interesting because we're going a little bit out of order, because even though Kat has been there for a while and Tommy has been the White Ranger for a while, and they've already got their ninja powers, we still haven't brought back Rita to marry Zed yet. So Zed is pretty much still the main villain as of right now and everything. And I've been saying to my girlfriend several times that there are some storylines that we need to do that are important, but we can't do them without Rita. We need to bring Rita back. And because she's responsible for anything in the storylines that involves the females, whereas I manage all of the males, she's got to bring Rita back. I keep telling her over and over and over again, get back with the story and bring back Rita. And so we're approaching that storyline where Rita's about to crash on the moon again, and she's got to use the love potion to marry Zed, which, I swear to God, that was something else. That was something else that I read about online that I realized was entirely right, and that was actually something that made no sense, was that I understand why they brought back Rita, and that was to tone down Lord Zed because he was too scary, but at the same time... What's that?
Oh, I was there fighting one party and another one snuck up behind me.
But what I was saying is that I find it very, very weird. This is entirely accurate what it says online. What it says online is that Rita had actually said that her plan was to marry Lord Zed, overthrow him, and take over the universe herself. She never did that. She married him and worked with him. She never overthrew him. So what was the point of all that dialogue? I didn't see anything that would make her change her mind. I can understand the whole storyline of what's the word? I can understand the whole storyline of the love potion wearing off, and to find out that Lord Zed just simply loves Rita, and that it wore off long ago, and that he has just been loving her this entire time with no potion, if you know what I mean, that it's all just him. I can understand all of that, but what I can't understand was why Rita had that whole thing about overthrowing Zed and taking over the universe herself, and she never did it. She married him, they became the new villains, and that was that. They were a pretty cute little couple. There was no her scheming to overthrow him or anything. That's something I just don't understand.
Yeah.
And I actually liked them together, and it was actually kind of a. And no, I'm not saying that I had a problem with Divatox. No, I don't. I love Divatox. She's one of my favorite villains. But
Divatox calls Rita in the movie.
Yeah. They definitely, oh man, they really did go a little bit overboard with the
how do I get rid of
adding humor to Zed.
How do I get rid of the Power Rangers? If I knew that, you think I'd be lying here listening to this?
They really overdid it with Lord Zed's comedy when he married Zed. I know that the point was to tone him down, but seriously, they turned him into a buffoon almost. I mean, oh my god. But what I was gonna say is I love Divatox as a villain, but it really did really seem like Lord Zed and Rita were going to become the new villains for Turbo, especially since they blew up King Mondo and left him in pieces and stuff like that and everything. It really seemed like Lord Zed and Rita were going to return as the villains for Turbo, but then we get Divatox. And that's another thing. I'm going to say it. Yes, I don't care who's watching this show right now. I love Turbo. Yes, I did. I saw no problem with it.
Sorry, he said maybe Lord Zed gave Rita a good dicking.
Maybe. Yeah. You didn't think of that. Maybe. Yeah, maybe his just getting in bed with her was too good that she couldn't overthrow him. But, like I said, no, everybody, I liked Turbo. I know that many people hate that season. I know that it almost got Power Rangers canceled. But, and I'm not gonna lie, okay, maybe them having cars was a little... Oh! That actually reminds me. I wonder if any of you know this or whatever. It's something that Johnny Young Bosch actually said at a convention about Turbo. Because as you all know or whatever, you all know that it was his idea to be bummed and everything about having the Frog Zord in the movie. That was his idea. And that was not in the script and everything, you know. Well, he actually said that he really felt like, as aside from the Lion, the Lion Thunder Zord, he felt that so many of his Zords were so letdownish and everything, because he said that first he ended up with the Frog, and that was his idea to be down about that. And when the Turbo movie came out, and they all got the cool cars and everything, he said that it was like really just downing to him because it was like Tommy gets like the race car and the new kid gets the monster truck and I get a green minivan. Yeah. and it's like seriously, that's the car that I get out of all that. I get a green minivan, and so
he's the other one that he's the other one that I would really
love
to. I say he's the other one I would really love to meet, Johnny Young Bosch.
Me too, yeah. I may not watch anime and everything, but he really seems like a cool guy, and he was one of my favorite Rangers and everything, and and it's amazing that how he is in real life. I'm surprised that they actually made Rocky the goofball instead of Adam, because Johnny Young Bosch is a goofball in real life. It surprises me. They actually reversed it. While Steve Cardenas can be funny in real life, he's actually really serious, especially when it comes to his martial arts. Whereas Johnny Young Bosch is just goofy all the way in life. Almost every convention he attends, he's always cracking jokes and telling funny stories. They switched it in the TV show. Rocky became the goofball and Adam became the serious one.
Yeah.
Well, I actually hear a lot of people say that out of the new three, when they took over for Jason, Zach, and Trini, a lot of them say that the only one that actually works is Adam, because he's the only one that actually has some personality. They basically say that Rocky is nothing more than a goofball, whereas Aisha is just another version of Kimberly. Whereas Adam is shy, romantic, serious. He's actually got some personality. I don't see it that way. I liked how they all came out, if you know what I mean. I liked the replacements and all that stuff. I'm not going to lie, it was a real heartbreaker and all that stuff when a number of them left. Like when Jason, Zach, and Trini left, you're like, oh my god. It's like they just were gone and everything. That's it. That was the end of them as Rangers. You're like, oh man. And it was just a downer. And then the next one we lost, I believe, was Aisha and no, I'm sorry, Kimberly. Kimberly was the next to leave and everything, you know, and then that was probably the most heartbreaking one of them all at that time. And then we lose Aisha, even though she's a kid or whatever. I kind of feel like she was ripped off a little bit. Karen Ashley even said that they were originally going to give her this big storyline where she will get her chance to say goodbye and fans can say their goodbye to her, but instead she never even really got to return to the show. They took her off as a kid. I was like, what a ripoff. They really didn't want her to leave that badly, so they just said, fine, we'll just take her off as a kid. and then we lost Aisha, which was a heartbreaker, but then, of course, as we were just talking about, so long Billy. He was the last remaining one of the originals that was on at the time, and then hell, they freaking gave him a goodbye with the credits and everything, showing all of Billy's moments throughout the years. And it's like, oh my god.
He was another one that when he left, they again. Remember, he did that message on the viewing globe, and the guy that did his voice in that
that was
like
so
him.
Not. Because his leaving wasn't planned. He just walked off set. He didn't even give them a warning so that they could prepare or anything. He just left, and they're like, "What are we gonna do? What are we gonna do?" Well, we're gonna have to just do this. It didn't sound anything like him. It was just other footage, you know, and everything. And that's why they gave him so very little dialogue. He had dialogue, but it was very, very, very little and everything, because it wasn't really him. David Yost has even said that he never even watched the episodes, so that he was not there for any of that. And they actually say that Amy Jo was the only one that left the show on good terms. Everybody else didn't.
Yeah, I heard with her because she wanted to pursue more acting projects.
That's right. I mean, she was the only one that left on good terms before Jason David Frank. Jason David Frank left on good terms and everything, but obviously good terms. I mean, come on, he came back several times, yeah. But at that time and everything, whereas Austin, Twee, Walter, and David, not so good terms.
Well, again, this is the first time that Walter and David, this year is the first time that Walter and David have come back to Power Rangers since they left.
Well, again, Austin was the Gold Ranger, and then he was in Turbo. Walter voiced a few monsters, from what I hear.
Did he?
Yes, he actually has voiced a few monsters. I don't know which ones, but he has, yeah. Okay. They must be doing something. I will admit this. They must be doing something with this reunion thing, because many people have asked David Yost, would he come back? And David Yost said that he would like to come back but at the moment he can't because he said that he is now a union actor and the show is still non-union. So this reunion must be union or he would not be coming back.
Yeah.
He said that he can't speak for others. He doesn't know if they're union actors or not, but he is, and so he can't come back if he's a union actor and the show is non-union.
Yeah.
I still, me and my ex-wife, the woman that I divorced, she can't believe that the show is still not union. She's been in the union. Well, I don't know if she is anymore because she doesn't really do any behind the scenes stuff like extra work anymore. But she was in the union, my ex-wife, and when I told her that Power Rangers wasn't union and that it still wasn't, she's like, "You got to be kidding me. It's after all these years and it's still not union?" And I'm like, "Yeah, Saban may be a very, very, very clever business guy and everything, but he's not really fair to his casts, if you know what I mean. It's just that he makes them do these very, very dangerous and these very, very exhausting overwhelming things, like making people look up to them, and they're promoting the Rangers and all that stuff, but they don't get that much payment. According to what they've said, they don't even make much more than they could make at a McDonald's.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's a little bit not fair. They should be making a fortune off of Power Rangers due to how much they've done. That's not really fair.
Yeah, they the other thing they had issues with was safety hazards because
yeah,
I think it was Amy Jo Johnson or David Yost said it, that it was the episode where they switch bodies, where Kimberly and Billy switch bodies, and the machine that they hook up to nearly electrocuted them.
Oh God, I did not hear about that one. I know that on when they were at Universal Studios and they had to close off the highway because of how many people were wanting to come to see them and everything. I know that when they each had to leap onto the stage and all that stuff, I know that Tui Trang injured an ankle or something like that, and the rest of the Rangers had to carry her off or something like that or whatever. But wow.
Well, no, it wasn't even just the like the Rangers either. When they did the movie, Paul Freeman, the guy that played Ivan Ooze,
yeah,
he like broke his foot or something on set, and like they had to rush him to the hospital.
I heard about that. He had to go to the hospital with all that purple gunk all over his face.
Yeah.
There's actually a lot of interesting facts about the movie that really, really, really just blow me away, if you know what I mean, because of how long the movie took to make. They were supposed to stay there for like 3-4 months, but they ended up being there for like 6, and those actors were just stuck there. And it's actually kind of interesting of how they were able to still film the show while they were still in Australia and everything, I mean, such as like they were filming the wedding 3-part series and everything, and it's no wonder that the Rangers barely appear. They hardly appeared that much out of costume, throughout the majority of that storyline, because they were filming the movie. And same thing with the return of the Green Ranger and all that, and like that whole storyline and everything. And even when the first time when they were turned into kids, that whole thing, and that's all when they were filming the movie, and it was all because the movie was overlaid or whatever the word is. They were stuck in Australia. And I've been hearing several different reasons and stuff like that, but I'm still wondering why they decided to make the movie not canon and make it its own thing. I've heard several different reasons, and I've not heard an exact, accurate reason. I mean, they were gonna give them the Ninja Zords in the show anyway, so why not just make the movie be that reason? Why'd they have to make it not canon? And it's just,
Well,
it also just blows.
And I would say because it didn't match Sentai footage, but again, neither did the Turbo movie, and that was canon.
Well, Turbo was the same budget as the TV show. The original movie wasn't. The original movie was like, God, $1 million something budget film with all American stuff. Turbo was on the same budget as the TV show. They pretty much didn't even need to make a movie for the pilot of Turbo. It was pretty much the TV show put on screen is all it was. There was really nothing on the
thing
movie
though
you
was
couldn't just do
the
on
thing
TV.
was in the movie was the movie didn't use any like even when they were morphed, the movie didn't use any Sentai footage. It was all American.
Oh, really? Well, yeah, I mean, because they morphed so little.
even the Megazord fight was like American film.
Well, yeah, like I said though, they morphed so little. I mean, it's like they get their powers, and then they take off in their new Zords, and they're immediately out of their uniforms. They board the ship, and they spend the whole thing as their human forms. And it's not even until, oh my god, like towards the end of the movie that they finally get onto the island, and they finally morph, and we finally get to see them in their uniforms and all that stuff, and their helmets and everything. And it's the morphing sequences and everything is pretty much exactly what you see on TV. There's no difference. I also found that a little bit of a disappointing ripoff because when the originals, once Justin joined, that is, who is somebody else I liked too, everybody. I liked Justin. He was actually, at the time of Turbo, he was my favorite. I know you all find him annoying, but I had no problem with a 10-year-old kid being a ranger. I actually kind of thought to myself, because I was still a kid at the time, I was like, that just shows that you don't need to be that old to be a Power Ranger. You can be 10 years old and still be a ranger. So I wish that people would back off on Justin too, like they do Cat. And like they bash on Cat, quit bashing on Justin. Anyhow, I also found that a little bit of a ripoff, is that when the originals plus Justin, when they whenever they would morph in the beginning, they would do it the way that we always knew the Rangers, like Mountain Blaster, Turbo Power, Red Lightning, Thunder Power, Turbo Power.
Yeah.
They would each, call out their Zords and they would morph. But once they replaced everybody, with the exception of Justin, they just got lazy, and all they really did was they just moved their arms, and they would appear in their outfits. They didn't have to say their Zords like we've always known them. And then the same thing with In Space. We were always so used to them like yelling something else, like Mastodon, Pterodactyl, Triceratops. Move on to Zeo Ranger 1, pink. Zeo Ranger 2, yellow. Move on to Turbo. Mountain Blaster, Turbo Power. Once we get these new guys, boom, in space. Let's rock it. We're morphed. Like, they just got lazy. I was like, geez, we want them to call out their Zords again or say something.
Yeah. Even with mine, like I already had, like, even with my series, I already had like their more, and like they didn't say, but it would be like, it would show the way I envisioned it in my head was it would show like the gloves and then the suit, and then the helmet would be like the last thing to come on, and then they would say their colors, be like X-Force red, X-Force blue. And
Nice.
It was like the only series I saw do that in the later seasons. Well, actually, I take it back. Dino Thunder kind of did that at times, but other than that, really, Ninja Storm kind of did too. But was Mega Force, believe it or not, and.
Yeah, I didn't watch those seasons yet.
Even though Mega Force was like one of the worst seasons, like they actually had the morphing sequence was probably one of my favorite things about the series.
I'll be honest with you. Since when we very first started, when we started talking, that like I said, I've always had a thing for the Black Rangers, like all the Black Rangers, from Mighty Morphin, Alien, and then In Space. And I'm pretty sure I'll like Tommy as the Black Dino Thunder if I watch it. I've always had a thing for the Black Rangers. I find it a little bit interesting that now that I think about it, aside from Zach and Adam, the Black Rangers are the ones that seem to get the very, very least storyline and screen times. Because, I mean, Zach had his fair share. I mean, come on, there was Happy Birthday Zach and everything, that whole episode and everything, and when he had to fight the Pexter and all that stuff, and the times where, tried to hook up with Angela, he got those moments. Adam had his fair share and everything. I guess in a way Goldar's vice versa would sort of be considered a Black Ranger episode, since, I mean, he was the one trying to get a date and all that stuff and everything, and, all that kind of stuff and everything. But after that, when the Alien Rangers came in, we had a Black Ranger. Like I said, Corcus was the one that had the least screen time and barely got very much to say compared to all the other Rangers. He was really shy and was reduced to...
Which is really funny because in the Sentai version, his Sentai counterpart, Jiraiya, actually had probably the most screen time.
Really? It seems like in the American footage they gave more of that to the White and Blue Rangers. It seems like, and it's weird because the Red Alien Ranger was the leader on the field and everything when they were out fighting. He was the leader and all that. But it seems like even in that case, it seemed like Delphine White and Sestro Blue, they got more to do than even him. And he was the one that frickin' was the leader out on the field. You would think that he would get some stuff to do, whereas those two got more than that. Even though I loved the Alien Rangers, I really think they weren't really fair with the each of the Rangers, I don't know what the word is, like their screen time and their dialogue and their personalities. I mean, we all know that Delphine was the only female, and she was like the first female White Ranger, and she was the leader of them in normality, or that's the proper word for it, and all that stuff. Sestro, just like Billy, he was the smart one with intelligence. Arico was the leader on the field, but then you get Corcus, my favorite, who was basically just shy and reduced to being a background Alien Ranger with only a little bit of dialogue, and Titus, the first male Yellow Ranger, and aside from the Japanese footage, that Japanese version, and he really didn't get that much to do either. It's just, I think that they should have really took their time to write out each Ranger and give them a personality like they do, our Rangers.
Yeah, Titus. But honestly, Titus and Corcus got so little screen time that for years I mixed them up. I didn't know which one was what.
Oh, I could actually tell because in the middle of their outfits they had a little triangle that had their color on it. So that's how I was able to tell who was who. But it just seemed really, really, really much like it seemed like Delphine and Sestro were the two that got the most. I mean, like I said, Delphine was the leader who had a lot of the dialogue, and Sestro freaking came back later on. So, anyways, going on with what I was saying about Black Rangers, Corcus got little, and a little dialogue and little screen time. And then Carlos in Turbo had a fair amount of time as the Green Turbo Ranger, but once they got into space, he became pretty similar to Corcus. He just kind of reduced into the background. I think there might have been only one episode centering around him, which was probably my favorite of the in-space episodes, which was when that little girl discovered his identity and everything. That might have been probably my favorite in-space episode, and that's the only episode that basically centers around him in space. Other than that, he gets very little to do. It just, as a matter of fact, I'll be honest with you, truth of it is, that's all the stuff about my Black Rangers, but I'm gonna be honest with you, if you really think about it, I think In Space didn't, even though I love it, it was, come on, it was the end of the Zordon era, I love the In Space season, but it didn't really seem that very much like a Power Ranger series. It basically became more of the what was Astronoma's real name again?
Corone.
Corone, that's right. It was more of a Andros and Corone story with Andros's and Ashley's romance kind of on the side, and that was pretty much it. I mean, all the others, I don't know. They just really, Carlos, TJ, Cassie, they had their moments and stuff like that, but it just didn't seem much like they were there. That even Zane, for that matter, even Awesome Zane, they just got so little to the story, whereas everything seemed to center around Andros and Corone and a little bit of Ashley when it came to Ashley and Andros's romance.
While
So,
we're talking about
if you
Andros
ask
real quick,
me,
I did.
even though I love In Space, it just didn't seem that much like a Power Ranger story, as it seemed more like a guy trying to save his sister while having an innocent romance.
Yeah. While on the subject of Andros, I mentioned earlier that that I met two Red Rangers. Christopher Kamen Lee, who played Andros, was the other one I met.
Oh, nice. Yeah, actually, Carlos, whatever, I forget his name, who played Carlos, he's another one that I would love to meet, because I just liked him a lot. I remember when my girlfriend and I were watching, she couldn't really get into the Rangers of In Space. She loved TJ. She thought TJ was awesome. She liked Andros. She thought that Zane was sexy, but she found Carlos to be the most boring.
I know some people got mad
when it
because
came to In Space, and here he was my favorite.
I know some people got mad because they thought that TJ should have stayed the Red Ranger.
Well, the guy who plays TJ actually said that Red was his favorite, so finally, especially since Zach and everything, they finally brought. Oh well, never mind. I was about to say they finally brought in another black African American actor to play a Ranger, but I forgot Aisha and Tanya.
Yeah.
And it is kind of interesting, or whatever, that TJ kind of went from being the leader to being kind of just second in command after Andros.
I did not get a hit in over here.
I am looking forward to this reunion, though, but I just really feel like, even though JDF wasn't gonna be in it to begin with, it's just gonna be very, very hard for me to watch it, just knowing that he's no longer with us. I feel like it should be dedicated to him. How long does your this thing usually go on?
Till I turn it off.
Oh,
there's no
because I was actually gonna say, or whatever, I probably should teleport out of here, because me and Jen, yeah, everybody, you can laugh at me all you want. I'm a 34-year-old. Anybody who's listening to this, you can laugh if you want to or whatever, but me and Jen are actually planning on going to Chuck E. Cheese for dinner. So,
you have to have a kid with you? I heard you had to have a kid with you to go there.
Well, that's what Jen thought too, but no, that's only if you want to play games. If you want to just go have pizza and just hang around, you can do that. But you got to have a kid if you want to play games, because me and my ex-wife, we went, not last year, but 2 years ago for my birthday. We went to Chuck E. Cheese, and they let us in. All we did was we just sat at the table. It was actually, I actually remember it was actually on, during COVID. It was during COVID, actually, when we still had to wear masks and everything like that. We went to Chuck E. Cheese, and we just sat at our table with all of my gifts and my birthday cake and all that kind of stuff, and we ordered pizza, and we ate, and we looked around and everything, and COVID was so bad they didn't even have the Chuck E. Cheese mascot walking around. That's how bad COVID was. So no, you don't have to have a kid to go into Chuck E. Cheese. You just have to have a kid to play games. Jen actually has now said they're actually starting to do weddings. I can't really think of any couple that would want to have their wedding at Chuck E. Cheese, but interesting. So I mean, we're planning on going out there to eat dinner, and I'm starting to get hungry here. God, all of this talk about Power Rangers is making me want to watch Power Rangers, and Jen's not really interested in Power Rangers. I'm like, crud. I need to get more Power Ranger fans in my life, aside from my girlfriend, you, and that Sarah Reba. I don't know if I told you, but I showed Caroline, like 2 or 3 episodes of Power Rangers, and she said, "I'm sorry, but this is just way too cheesy." She said, "This is just way too cheesy." She did say that she really liked Kimberly. She really got into Kimberly, but she said that it's just so cheesy, is what she said.
Yeah.
And I repeat what JDF said back at the time when Power Rangers was still this humongous phenomenon or whatever, before it started to kind of go down a little bit back. I repeat what JDF said. Yeah, it is cheesy, but kids like cheesy. They like macaroni and cheese, they like cheese sticks, and they're gonna like Power Rangers.
I remember seeing the video when he said that.
Yeah, it is true. Yeah, it all makes sense. And I'll just say this last thing before I go. This is actually a question for everybody. I'll just ask this while we're still on the air, while we're still live. Before we go, this is a question for everybody. I mean, Steven, I don't know about you, because I don't know if I ever brought this up to you or not. I know I mentioned the fan club, but let me ask everybody this. Has anybody here ever actually seen or heard of Power Rangers Live World Tour?
I think I heard of it. Sounds familiar.
Interesting fact about that is that was my very first live show that I ever saw in Chicago before I started going and seeing Broadway musicals that were going on tour through Chicago and everything. I mean, that was Beauty and the Beast. But before even all that, it was Power Rangers that I went and saw. It was a live show that they made a story out of that went around America. I actually went with the flu. That's how big of a Power Ranger fan I was. I went with a very high fever. I had the flu. I had a sore throat, but I wasn't gonna miss this. My parents had already got us tickets, and back at the time, Stephen, when I was trying to do a Power Ranger read-through to honor JDF, unfortunately that ended up not happening, but I'm not giving up. I'm going to see if there's a chance that I can get enough people, even if they're just personal Power Ranger fans and not read-through actors. I'll keep on trying to do it, but it was basically just everybody in the show. It was all done with voiceovers. That's basically all it was. None of the actors appeared on stage unmorphed. They were all morphed, and it was all just pre-recorded dialogue of Lord Zed and the Rangers, and Zordon appeared on a screen and everything. Alpha appeared on stage with just like, I don't know, maybe like a short person in a costume, and it was pre-recorded dialogue.
I've seen a video of that. That sounds really familiar.
There's all the Zord fights. All of the Zord fights were done on screen, and it's actually kind of interesting, or whatever, that here they would have the Rangers leap into their Zords, and it's during season 2, which is the Thunder Zords. Yet they appear in their Dino Zord cockpits. If you know what I mean. So you actually see them in their Dino Zord cockpits, even though they're flying in the Red Dragon and the Unicorn and the Firebird and all of them.
Yeah.
And stuff like that. Monster in it is called Lumator, a fire lion. And there's also there's basically him, another monster they have to fight is a monster that the putties and Goldar create themselves, and it's kind of funny the way they have to defeat him. I mean, Lumitor seems pretty obvious. He's a fire lion, so how are you going to defeat him? Water. You just basically just have to have rain come down and melt him. Whereas this monster is called Hollow, that he's built or whatever. He's not created by Zed with his staff or anything. This monster is just built. And it's so incredibly ridiculously funny. It was just a way to make the audience participation, is that the way they got to defeat him is that all the audience members just have to make as much noise as they can, and it will vibrate inside of him and break him apart. Yeah. And I'm like thinking, seriously? I mean, oh my god, just a way to get the audience in there.
On YouTube.
It's on YouTube. They filmed it, released it on VHS. You can get it on DVD if you buy the original series collection, which I have, but it's also on YouTube as well. And it's actually really, really, really good for being, you know, a Power Ranger live show that does not have the actual actors in it and all that, and everybody is just doing pantomime and having to know whose turn is it to speak. I mean, there's actually even like this one moment where Tommy is like the actor in the Tommy outfit is like moving his arms and everything as if he's the one talking, but he sounds more like Rocky and everything, almost as if they didn't know whose turn it was to talk or something. Yeah. But it's actually pretty good for a Power Ranger, you know, live show, and I'm glad that I went and saw it when I did. And it also is pretty cheesy that they actually turned Adam and Aisha into Cockatoos.
Yeah,
into
I did see that one. They
whatever,
turned them Cockatoos. Yeah. All right, one more thing before we end the stream is I wanted to get your opinion on a story that I'm actually writing because of X-Force kind of having holes in it now because of the special, which again that was an easy workaround again, but then JDF died and that made it even more difficult.
Yes, I
started deciding, okay, I'm gonna go ahead, just start from scratch. I'm gonna write a new story. The only thing, it's like, yeah, there's Rangers, there's Zords, blah, 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 but they're not connected to any of the previously existing Rangers anyway. Right now, I'm calling it Power Rangers JRG, which stands for Juvenile Reformation Guild. And pretty much, the story is about the Rangers are these 5 kids that are in juvie for various crimes that they've committed.
And they're the bad guys, just like in the reboot.
Kind of, but like they're not like bad people. It's just they've done stuff to get themselves locked up in juvie.
Right, but I'm just saying, like in the reboot, they all met in detention. Yeah. They really are teenagers with attitude.
Yeah, and the juvie, like the facilities, like their Ranger project is like a program to like help get them out on like good behavior kind of thing. And like there's this scientist that used to work for them finds an ancient spell book with a sorceress like trapped in the spirit of a sorceress, and she possesses the body of his wife and starts causing chaos, which causes them to activate their Ranger project, and they pick these 5 kids in juvie to become their Rangers. But obviously they're being like monitored, and it's kind of like the Power Rangers version of Suicide Squad.
Oh yeah, I don't watch Suicide Squad, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, so
interesting.
I thought it was a bit of a more unique concept.
Again, it just seems like nowadays, even though Power Rangers was originally intended for kids, it seems like many people, studios, you name it, are trying incredibly hard to make it darker and make it more adult and everything, which I really don't see a problem with that. I mean, it will never be the original, which is the best and everything, but it's still pretty nice to add a little darkness and maybe some mental stuff to it and make it more adult and stuff like that, especially in this especially in this century and everything, where pretty much everything is dark nowadays.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
I
don't
really don't
mind
see a problem.
I don't mind them adding dark elements if they do it right.
Exactly. Don't just make it dark just to make it dark.
Did you see that? Did you see there was like a reboot film on YouTube that they did? It was just like a fan film that they did on YouTube, and it was just like set in this post-apocalyptic thing, and there was actually some famous
No,
people.
I
There
can't
were
say
actually
I
some
saw that,
famous
no.
people in it, like James Vanderbeek. You know who he is? He played Rocky
Mm-mm.
in it, and
Oh, nice.
Katie Sackhoff. She's in like The Mandalorian. She was in Battlestar Galactica. She plays Kimberly in that,
Mm-hmm.
and it's pretty much like Tommy's died, and then like the villains like hunting down the other Rangers, and like Rocky. And it was because like Rocky kind of turned on the others, and
Oh boy. I
and
actually remember in the one that me and my girlfriend are writing, this is so incredibly funny. It was shortly after JDF's death and everything. I said to my girlfriend, I said, in our story, I don't suppose you'd want to have Tommy get killed off as kind of a way to honor JDF. And she goes, you better not kill Tommy
better not
off
kill him. Oh, yeah.
and everything. So instead, as I was getting sleepier and sleepier, because we basically gave Tommy instead of giving him a brother, we gave him a sister in our story and everything. And instead of killing Tommy off, she reverted into killing off his sister instead.
Yeah. There was
Because she really didn't want Tommy to die.
Yeah, the thing in X-Force was that I kind of went into it that that kind of Tommy has the mentality of a soldier, kind of, who's like been in wars, where when the new threat shows up, he's like quick to jump back into the fight and jump back in the fight. And the thing is, though, in the series now, he's like 50, so it's like you can't. It's like it's not like he can just jump back in there, and so over the course of the series, Tommy like learns that it's okay to like let go and let the next generation take on the fight, and like that it's okay to retire.
I feel like JDF was somewhat like that in real life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to mention,
all right,
when we were talking about the Turbo movie, the other thing that I was going to mention that I forgot was that the prequel that I was talking about. One thing that I addressed that was interesting was I was trying to go about the mental toll that some of the experiences took on the Rangers. Like, for instance, Kimberly has severe PTSD in my story because.
She does in our story, too.
Yeah, if you think about it, she and Jason essentially died. They were lowered into a lava pit. They died. And were brought back as like these demon possessions. And the only reason why they survived was because of the wizard Larigo.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like getting lowered into a lava pit and pretty much dying. That's got to be pretty traumatic.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, I better teleport out of here, bud. My friend here is wanting to go eat. I just want to say to everybody, thank you so much. Thank you, man, for allowing me to be on this podcast. I've never been on a podcast before. This is my first, and what a better one than a Power Ranger one.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed this. If I had a PlayStation, I'd ask you to let me be on more, but I don't know when the next time will be that I will have a PlayStation like this. Just one question before I go. When should this be on YouTube for me to be able to show my girlfriend and everybody?
Well, I mean, it's live streaming on YouTube right now, so once I end it, once I end the stream, it'll like just take a little bit to process, and then I can send you the link too.
That's what I would like. I was about to ask you if you could just send me a link so that I could just start.
definitely.
I'd like to post it into my JDF group, and I would like to send it to other people, like my girlfriend and stuff like that, and just hear what we chatted about and stuff like that. And so,
all right, guys. Tomorrow.
But again,
I was just kind of making an announcement overall. All right, guys. Tomorrow's Terror Tuesday. We're gonna be doing The Last of Us. So that's gonna be fun. Again, I want to thank Joe again for coming in, talking Power Rangers with us, and don't forget to like, follow Puzzle Piece Gaming. We're on Facebook, YouTube, Discord, Twitch. We've been posting on TikTok, which seems to be working pretty well. So, and anything else you want to say before we end the stream, Joe?
I would just like to say to everybody to please, just for all you Power Ranger fans out there, just always remember at our hearts to always remember Jason David Frank forever, and let's continue. I know that there are some people out there that don't agree, but I'm sorry, but I feel like you should always, support Jenna in whatever decision she decides to do or whatever, because she is our Tommy Oliver's daughter and everything, and whatever decision she makes, it is right. Whether she becomes involved with the show or whether she decides not to be involved in the show, her decision is always right, no matter what. And just continue to support her. And I guess I might as well say the one thing always: once a Ranger, always a Ranger. And everybody, may the power protect you all.
That's all I have to say.